Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Open Mic Edition. Okay. Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Open Mic Edition.
Hey, thanks for coming, everyone. Thank you, Everly, for that nice intro. Welcome to Open Mic number 96. And today we're going to be talking about Jodi Stachowski and Debbie, Mark Wiegert, Fassbender. I think we got a little bit of the new chick. I always forget her name. She's in there too. And we're going to talk about this progression.
I'm
sorry? Wendy
Baldwin.
Baldwin. Yeah. Yep. She's in there. And, but this is going to be talking about what law enforcement, what I feel they did. Others may agree, disagree, and that's okay I'm okay with that. But, we'll see. We'll see what we see. I'm just going to forewarn you. We're not going to go into everything. There's too much. We'd be here for 10 hours, but there are many recorded conversations that piqued my interest, and we also know that there's documentation which we're not going to read. We're not going to get into the case of investigative files, but they're there. Everybody's read through them. So there's some little bit of gaps here, but we'll talk about those gaps in between these different recordings that we're going to play. We also have Maz asked for a specific phone call, one of the newer phone calls we got last year, to be played. She wants to talk about that, so I've agreed to go ahead. She actually hit me up there here's a few minutes ago, so I've added it into the mix. We're going to do it first, actually, and so it's done. I'm not sure where she's at exactly, but anyway, we'll. I'm sorry.
That was my dog. Sorry.
And that's okay. So yeah, but first, before we get started, let's just be nice and introduce everyone that's on the panel here with me in Discord. First, we have Alice. How are you today, Alice?
I'm good, thanks, Jack. It's bloody cold here in Scotland, wet as usual. Typical Scottish day here. Hi everyone on panel, and lovely to see everyone in chat. Thank you all so much for being here. We wouldn't be doing this without you all.
Thank you, Alice. Disco, hey, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, Jax. I'm doing pretty well. I've caught up with a lot of chat today, and I was just thinking it's nice to see Foul Play's numbers grow with people we haven't seen yet, and welcome everybody in the chat, and hello panel, lovely to see you here.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And the lovely Lady Neverly.
Hello, gentleman Jack and the panel, everybody in the chat. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Southern California, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yep. You and Doc are doing such a great job with reading with the crew. Really enjoying that.
Thank you so much. It's fun, and we're kind of just going with it, and it's very, very interesting. But the best part is we're just reading the book. We're not stating our opinions.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. And it is a very, very interesting book. And Christina, how are you?
I am wonderful. Hello, everyone in chat. Hello, Disco again. We spent all day chit-chatting about this case. And it's an intriguing case full of just questions, and there has not been any resolution. When you have been researching a case for 5 years and you can get on the phone and still talk about it for 8 hours and learn something new. I'm also, hello to everyone in chat, and I just find that fascinating that justice is supposedly served, yet here we are.
And there you go. And you're right. It's that's what's grabbed our attention. We're wanting, no matter where it goes, we're going to follow that path. And that path for me so far has led me to say that I believe fully that Stephen and Brendan are completely innocent. They were set up. And this is where we are. So let's, hey, before we get going, let's say hello to everyone that's joined us in the live chat. I see Dozer and Pete Moss and the Supermod Catnet. Thanks for coming, Cat. Really appreciate it. And your efforts and your work. You're so good at it. And Darkside too. And there's Angie, Maz. We're going to be playing your call here just in a minute, Maz. We can talk about it. Who else we have? I see N4 SYM. There's Hugh. Thanks for coming, Hugh. There's Kay. We got Lola Blue Skies, Malta. Well, welcome, Lola. I don't think I've seen your name. Paul Ward. There's Iced Coffee. Rhonda SD.
Sorry, Jack. I think Lola was loving Malta.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Case 10. Hey,
Yep.
yeah, there's Case 10. Hello from a different cornfield. No children out there. Okay. Well, if you can watch from a cornfield, hey, that's great, man. That's awesome. And Cher, thanks for coming. Who else we got here? Alrighty, that's all I see. If I missed anyone, I apologize.
Did you get Rhonda SD?
I did. Oh, there's West Virginia. I got Paul. Yep.
Oh,
Gary. Yeah. Well, everybody knows he's automatically on the list. And there's Gary Trevina. I'm sorry. Hello. Thanks for coming. Okay. And yes, we see you, Andy. And there's Claire. Hey, thanks for coming, Claire. Really appreciate that. So this first call, and I apologize. I don't remember what all. I know there was some discussion about this call. Truly, I've been so wrapped up in trying to get these other calls, jail visits recorded. I'm not exactly sure what this is about. This is a 10-minute call. We'll play some of it and see if we can get the gist of what Maz was talking about, or maybe she can say in chat. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Just as a warning, anyone that's in here in Discord will have to unmute YouTube to hear this. So we'll be doing some mute and unmute today. Okay. All right, that's going to pop in there just in a second. So yeah, this is one of the jail calls that we got last year and inserted in. That's why it's a different, thumbnail. So this call is looks like on October 30th at 10:15, 22:15. That's 10:15 p.m. at night. So let's listen to some of this call and see if we can kind of get the gist. And Maz, if you got anything to say in live chat, or if you want to hop on Discord and talk about this, you're more than welcome. So here we go. Let's play a little bit of this.
This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Evercom.
Mark.
Can't say hi.
Oh, hi.
What are you doing?
Watching the news?
That paper you got, supposedly in the mail for commitments?
What are you talking about?
The paper you read to me over the phone.
I don't know.
That supposedly owed $3,000?
Yeah.
Well, I just got one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to sit another 67 days.
Why?
Because we ain't paying on it.
Judge didn't say that.
This is for my fourth.
Huh?
This is for my fourth.
Yeah.
The last one.
Yeah.
Because we ain't paying any more on it, I gotta sit 67 days.
How can you pay on it? They won't let you out to work.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to find a different job then, huh? claim, send another 67 days.
Okay, I want to pause here now. Now I remember, and this is talking about this letter that Jodi got right before she was going to be released. I think relatively soon at this point until she got this letter. So apparently, because this is her fourth DUI or OUI, however you want to operating while influenced, or DUI, driving under the influence.
Yeah.
So she's saying she's getting another 67 days, but it's actually longer than that. I can tell you, she does not get out of jail until I think like March. I'm going to say it was around the 6th. I think it was 5 days after Brendan was arrested. I think it was the 6th or the 7th, because there was a clip in MAM that shows that, and I think it says 5 days. Anyway, Dolores went to pick her up. That's the reason I remember that, because I made a clip of that probably not even a month ago. So she ends up spending, this is October 30th, so she doesn't get out for November, December, January, February, over 4 months from this time period. So this is what Maz is talking about, and this potential for, because apparently she had a $2,000 fine that she hadn't, neither her or Stephen had paid anything on. Apparently she's saying she didn't know anything about it. So the gist I'm getting out of it.
So Judge Fox,
I
I just want to add to that Judge Fox signed this commitment order on the 26th, the same day Couchet was deposed, and roughly I think 4 days after, or 2 weeks after, Link and Colburn's deposition. I always find the timing all of that quite interesting. You know, they want to separate it, but we can't, because all of these cases are intertwined. And Judge Fox signed her commitment order. It came out of the blue. It should not have been done, because they had discussed, I guess, the gist I got from it was these court costs were going to be like, we do them where they turn them into civil judgments, where it just goes against your credit. And then all of a sudden they pull them back out. And I always found that interesting, because it keeps her from going back out to work. And more importantly, It keeps her from being able to be picked up to go to the AA meeting, which he was taking her to either 1 or 2 times a week, from what I understand.
Couple times a week, yeah. Interesting. Hey, Alice, you want to read the comments? You want to read the comments from Maz, what she's saying?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to. She says, in my opinion, it proves that Judge Willis and Co. had issued a warrant on the 24th of October for Jodi's arrest on 10:30 for not paying her fine, so that she'd be out of the way from October 30th to the 20th of December. So a week before it was planned that Jodi would be out of the way makes it far easier to plant stuff on Stephen.
That's right. Yeah. And also, if Jodi's out of the way, then they can use the 6-starved maniac on a junkyard kills on Halloween theme, right?
Well, potentially. I mean, it's hard to sit here now knowing what we know and disprove and say that couldn't happen. On the 24th, personally, my personal opinion, I don't know that was necessarily true. This is just me talking. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right, because I may not be. But given everything that we know and their extreme measures that they went to stop Kasorik, keep Kasorik and Vogel out of the witness chair in the depositions, I think something was going to happen. Now, Could they have foretold anything about Teresa at that point on the 24th? I don't know, because to me, there's really no way they could have known that she was going to come on the 31st, because he didn't call until that morning. But I still feel like that something was going to happen in that time frame, because they still had, at that point, they still had a couple of weeks. Because Sork wasn't due to testify until the 10th. It wasn't subpoenaed until the 10th of November. So I don't know. It is weird that they would just all of a sudden come upon this, unless Jodi missed something, or I don't know. I don't. It's hard to say, because we don't have our hands on all the information.
Now, let me ask you this. Do we have, because we know from what the family had said, that they started talking about getting the van ready to list the week prior. So that weekend prior, they did a little bit of work. They fixed the oil leak or the transmission leak, whichever one it was, and did some other stuff that weekend prior, right? Do we
they've
have
been working
any phone calls discussing that?
If there is, it probably would be relatively early in, and I don't personally remember any phone calls, but I've listened to so many calls that one just may not have stuck. But I know that there was a time frame prior to October 31st. That there was conversations that Steven said he's trying to talk Barb into letting him fix that van up cell to get parts to fix up the Suzuki for the boys to drive. That was the plan. So, yeah.
Because
I just don't remember.
The Suzuki is much cooler for teenage boys than a minivan.
Oh, than a mom soccer van?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like Steven had some ulterior motive. He was thinking of, if I was a teenage boy, I'd much rather drive this cool little Suzuki than, the mom van.
Absolutely. So that's a really, it is an interesting call, as I have to agree it is. And, it's hard to put an arrow through it and say something weird, but it is something weird, because you would have thought by this time she's going to get out, relatively soon. And then all of a sudden, boom, she gets hit with this fine. I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a few who's joined us. We've got JD who's joined us. Hi, JD. We've got Kelly Coles who's joined us. We've got Pikachu who's joined us. So welcome. Nice to see you here. Sherry Lynn Pontillo has joined us as well. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate you guys coming and listening in. But we'll put a pin in that call there for now and move on to our main subject, which is talking about Jodi and Debbie. And, just as a little preface throughout this, anyone that's familiar with this case at all understands that Jodi's name got brought up really quickly in the case, really quickly. And then, of course, as you listen to the various phone calls, they found out that Jodi's in jail and that, Steven's been taking her to her AA meeting, so forth, a couple times a week. But they found out that she's in general population and they want to talk to her. So this first call I'm going to play, while it may not be necessarily relevant to, per se, Debbie, the Debbie Jodi triangle with Steven, it is relevant to the fact that they messed with her. So hold on just a second. My wife just walked in and wanted to say hey. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to play that. This is only, it's not a very long call. Yeah, this call here is 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So let's listen to this one. I converted this one a while back. It's in the key calls list. Everything that I'm going to put up now is going to be linked in the video description. I didn't put it in yet because when I put this all together, I wasn't entirely sure what all I was going to add to it, because I could literally add probably, there were calls that that I've converted to MP3 that are not in a playlist yet that I haven't given to Zoe, where things start to get really cantankerous in April between Stephen and Jodi. But I've got one of them, and I'm going to play some of it. I'm not going to play, except for this one, I'm not going to play all of anything that we're going to listen to, because some of it, I mean, one interview is like an hour long, the other one's 30 minutes. I'm not going to play all of those. We're going to play some of it, though, so you can understand and see the progression and the manipulation of what I feel they did to cause issues and to isolate Stephen even further. So, yeah, let me flip over here and get this screen up. Okay, that's going to pop in there just. And remember, anyone here in Discord, got to unmute YouTube to hear this. So this call is 3 minutes and 45 seconds, you can see. Let's listen to it. Here we go.
County Jail, Sergeant Munker.
Hey, Mark, this is Jim Link. How you doing?
Good.
I need a favor.
What's that?
Stephen Avery's girlfriend, Jodi something.
Yeah.
You know who she is?
Yeah.
Where is she, in general population or what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could you bring her down and put her in a cell for a while? We may need to talk to her in a little while. I just need to have her segregated a little bit.
Sure.
Okay?
We'll do that right away.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Sheriff's Department Bethler.
Hey, Chris, what do you got?
Hi. Shannon Hine called earlier. I spoke with her. She supervises a Jodi Stachowski.
Okay.
Jodi is apparently I don't know that she's a girlfriend, but a personal friend of Steve Avery.
Okay.
Jodi's currently in our facility. She does have Huber. And on Monday of this week, Jodi would have been on Huber and would have been in the company of Steve Avery.
Okay.
Jodi didn't want to say a whole lot over the phone because Shannon talked to her in the jail today on the phone, and Jodi was really hesitant to give her a whole lot. But Shannon wants us to know that she really strongly believes that Jodi has some information.
Okay.
And that Jodi mentioned specifically Steve's nephew. But Shannon couldn't remember the name of the nephew, but she said she mentioned that nephew several times over, and that she really seemed strongly that there were some issues with Steve, like there was some information.
So why did Hines call us today after hearing about this? Or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because Hein lives in Appleton, and she'd been apparently working out of county for the last couple of days, and this Jodi has been very, very insistent in trying to get a hold of her. So she's been getting all these messages, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. So after all this, she heard about it, she thought, hey, maybe I should call her. So she called her today and talked to her, and then called us. Jodi is in our jail right now, and she's been taken from population.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Okay.
The only two down here are myself and Lieutenant Time. Do you want us to handle that, or do you want to handle that?
Go in here. Let me check with Mark real quick and see what he thinks real quick. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Go interview her, Chris.
Okay.
Okay.
And is there anything in particular that I need to focus on or talk to her?
Well, maybe it's best that the less you know, the better.
Okay.
Based on, not that we're feeding her information or anything like that.
Okay.
Maybe just kind of go in there cold and see what you can get.
Okay.
Obviously, we located the victim's vehicle on the property, and he's a good suspect, but, anybody really wants to.
Okay. I'm also waiting on, and I know you're busy, but waiting on house descriptors so I can type that in here. I've got addresses, but I believe I need the physical descriptors of the property and the house.
For what?
Don't you need it to get a search warrant?
Oh, we got that.
You got it already?
Yeah, we're done with that. We're at the judge. I'm walking in the judge's front door right now.
All right.
No, yeah.
Well, then I'm glad you called.
Okay.
I don't know that Link knows that. Maybe pass it on to him, because he was just down here and said, we got to get going with this. I said, Jim, I'm waiting.
I'm walking in the judge's door right now.
All right, very good.
Okay.
I'll let you know what
you get, though.
I will.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
So you see that first call was at 1:20 p.m. So This was just a few hours after the RAV was discovered, a couple hours. So they're already on Jodi right away. And to me, you know, that she's been locked up. So I don't, I see this as they're already going after her for something, for some reason. She wasn't there. So what are they doing? Precisely. This early on.
What they're doing with that? Well, I mean, Jodi knows nothing because she wasn't there. If that's when the RAV's been found, you know what I mean. So why is he telling her to get Jodi and get her into that room and go in cold, and stuff like that? You know, this is the wheels in motion. That's what this is doing. This is putting more wheels in motion to get to Steve and to get to her, because if they can get her to turn on Steve, then they've got a better case.
Did they say that Jodi had been trying to call her supervisor for 2 days previous to that?
The supervisor's been trying. Well, yeah, basically. That's right, Disco. Yes, that's correct.
Like what? So that's like from what, the 3rd? What was it?
Well, that's it. Well, yeah, so the 2nd or 3rd, and saying that the supervisor feels strongly that Jodi's got information about the case. Well, how the hell can that be?
So what
did Stephen not call her on the 3rd?
So what I took from it was that Stephen had a witness that Teresa left, and that was Bobby. And Jodi was trying to get her probation officer to say, "Hey, Stephen's nephew knows that he didn't commit the crime because he saw her leave. He followed her out." Also, did you hear what she said? The probation officer said Stephen would have been with Jodi on Monday because she
That's
had
right.
Huber class.
That's
So
right.
that warrant coming in and being served on her stopped him from having an automatic alibi, because he would have signed her out of the jail. So he'd have been on video, documented that you can't forge those documents, right? Documented in Manitowoc at that time, taking her to class.
Yep, that's why I said earlier, I can't disprove what you guys were talking about. And I know it's a theory because we don't have actual, whatever, but again, that shows a premeditation of something going to happen. I just don't think they could have predicted the Teresa part, but I think they could have predicted something else that could have potentially happened. There's so many things. I mean, look what they arrested him for. It was a gun charge. It wasn't for Teresa's murder. That didn't happen until after they had their way for 9 damn days on the property and off the property at Gus Road and everywhere else. So, she makes it sound like, Bessel makes it sound like that, oh, she's got all this information you guys need to find out. Another thing I'm going to mention about this phone call, because you never know until you ask, but I really felt like, because so many of her other interviews are recorded, when we got I think we got 5 interviews of Jodi that are recorded, but this one wasn't. Bessler did not, and Link did not, or not Link, but I think she said Officer Syme or Lieutenant Syme. They did not record this interview that they had with Jodi. It's like that's what the Calumet County told me. They don't have it. And I think I asked, Open Record requested that also from Manitowoc County, and they said there was no record of that, which I find a little interesting that they made this much effort to get Jodi, isolated, get her in a cell or room, whatever, and they didn't record the conversation. I don't know. Anyway.
If I may, Jack.
Please.
I don't know if everybody remembers one gentleman. His name, he went by One to Screw or something like that. One to Screw,
that was
right?
it. Yep, that's right.
he had a podcast. He had, I think, 12 episodes, and I listened to them. Like, this was in 2016 when everything came out. Right after he did over an hour, 12 podcasts, and he gave his theory of what happened. He was adamant. One of the first things that he discussed, he was adamant about Jodi being prevented from coming out that day. And he said, find out who did not let Jodi out and find out who gave him that order, and you will have your person who was on the setup of Stephen. He was adamant about it because I kind of agree. I kind of agree to that because all of this to happen and for Jodi not to come out, it's really, as Bibi would say, convenient for them. Again, another
Absolutely.
convenience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we also had him on our on our one of our podcasts as a guest, as far as I remember. That was probably 2-3 years ago. Very interesting. But occasionally I go and I re-listen to his theories. Some of the things have been like, we have more information now and we could just see differently. But if you can get onto his podcast, his channel, and I don't know how he spelled it out. Is it Juan as in Juan?
I think it was. I think it was Juan.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about Juan Trescu.
Yes.
Juan and then space and then capital TRESCUE. Y'all got to speak with him?
Yeah.
Yes.
They had him.
Wow.
They had him on as a guest, I think, on a coffee or something.
Yes.
He
Probably like 2-3 years
I
ago.
always thought he was an insider. I always thought that he was on the fringe of government circles and either he did something and got ousted or he was trying to decide whether to blow the whistle or what.
I think he was very
Yes.
ill.
Yes, and because he was on the inside, that's what maybe he wasn't. I also, Christina, thought that he was on the inside of all of this. He disguised his voice so he wouldn't be recognized. And the information of how he put everything together, I can't ever repeat it, no matter how many times I listen to his podcast.
No, and then Disco,
did
you
know
said
what
you
was
think he's ill?
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
that's what I told years ago with
Yes.
some liver failure or he was
Or
quite
kidney or something like that, yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, Alice, I see that Kelly has a comment in the chat. Can you read that out?
Yep, sure. Barbie, Ellen, and Williams joined us in chat as well, and Kelly, another Kelly's joined us in chat as well. Thanks for coming, guys. Kelly Cole says there's then calls where Stephen Avery watching news and Jodi flapping her gums at him because she wants him to mention her case. He tells her to shut up. She was trying to provide info so that they look at her case.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit later on. I think I remember that call. I think that's also one of the newer calls that I got last year. But go ahead, Rosine. I think there's other comments.
Yeah, she says this actually starts off where Stephen Avery inserts Bobby first. Then they go to Bid and start telling him Stephen Avery is basically throwing shade on you. Why would you do that? Why would he do that? That's where we get the Bobby saying, I don't know.
Gotcha. Hey, I see we've got Hugh Fraser. Hey, Hugh. What's Hugh say? Sherilyn Pontello, is this Monday versus the Tuesday or Thursday question? Oh, I didn't read Sherilyn. I didn't read Sherry's question. Whether there would have been a cast iron alibi for Stephen Avery, or have I misunderstood something? Yep. I also want to say welcome to Barb and Kelly, and we also have Kelly McAllen. Thanks for coming, and our William. I'm trying to look for.
Sorry, Jack. Another one of Kelly's. There's other calls around this that you might play. But Jodi inserts herself into this. I think it was to help her. There's a call where Jodi says to Stephen, I told them what you told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that call. Disco?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to clarify. So he takes her out a couple of times a week, and one of them's for like an AA, I take it, and the other one's to work or to see her lawyer. Do we know what she's actually out for and what days that he picks her up? Is it like Tuesday and Thursdays, or is it a Monday and a Thursday? I was never sure. Because I think John Trescue's, like I said, it is to stop her going to an AA meeting is very odd. Because it's part of her recovery.
Yeah, I don't remember which nights, but yeah, you're correct. And I do remember, I'm sure I do remember elements of the calls that Kelly's talking about. Yeah, there's so many back, especially towards. Actually, it's kind of scattered throughout. If you listen to these jail calls, because they'll talk about things that happened at that time, and then it's mixed in with conversations of other stuff going on. So it's kind of a, it's not a always a call specific thing that's all they talk about, because that never happens. So,
but he would have she was looking for her supervisor a couple of days before this call.
Yes.
So that's the 5th, yeah. So it's either the 3rd. Would he have called her and said that Colburn was around chatting about the missing girl? That's when it first started. That would tie in with her having information from that date that she wanted to pass on.
Right.
Yeah. What triggered that call as well? Because she was trying to get in touch with them, obviously, about something previously, like 2 days before, that these people are calling the jail and wanting her sequestered off.
Yeah, she's talking. She made mention something about the nephew or Brendan. I think she's referring to, or Bobby, one of the two. But again, the Bessler makes it sound like that her supervisor, Jodi's supervisor, has some kind of terrible information, useful for the cops, to get Avery. And I just don't think that at all. And
right.
Well, I mean, we don't. It's the interview is not recorded. Go ahead.
N4SYM says, "Excuse me, I am lost. Who is Bessler?"
She is a officer at Manitowoc County Jail.
Barb says, after Jodi stopped talking to Wiegert and Fassbender, they went after Brendan.
Yeah, yes. There's other things mixed in there too, Barb, and we're going to get to that actually, and you're going to hear it, because again, this is a, as I started listening, I've noticed it before, and I'm sure other people have as well, but it's even more apparent now that we have more information that we can actually publish. That's Jodi herself and these officers of other elements that came into play. Now, I don't know exactly. We're gonna move forward here a little bit. I don't know exactly when Debbie got involved with Stephen. That's unclear to me. I don't think anybody actually really knows, or specifically exactly how that came about. Maybe the information is out there and I've just missed it. But nonetheless, as I've said a couple of times on the open mic, I think I even said it during the reading with the crew yesterday, I requested all the jail visits from November, December, all the way through. Actually, everything that's listed in the discovery file. I don't have any jail visits for Stephen for November and December 2005. Nothing. And I found that really strange. I don't understand how. Barb would probably know. I'm sure that Dolores and Alan and other people went to visit Stephen while he was in jail after he got arrested in November and December, but they didn't give me any jail visits. I'm going to go back at them and try to clarify that. But nonetheless, starting in January of 2006, the first call he got that I was given was from Debbie. And as those calls go through, I'm not going to play that one. You can listen to it. It's out there. You can tell she's sweet on him. And as time goes on, and she's married, you know, it goes even further. And I'm going to play some of that call here in a few minutes. But actually, the next call I'm going to play, let's see. Yeah, we're going to jump forward in time. I've told you about she called him on the...
Sorry, Jack, hang on a sec before we get started.
Yeah.
Cher is asking, this is the first time I'm hearing about Debbie. Who is she, please?
Well, she's, you know, I can't tell you too much about her. Others probably know more than I have, because I'm kind of like you. I know she was around. I'm not sure if she's a pastor or married to a pastor. I think she's a pastor at some little church, but I'm not positive of that. But nonetheless, she became involved in Stephen's case in some way. I don't know if she started writing him or whatever, but she eventually, at whatever point, she started calling him, and we definitely have the first call that I've been given, jail visit call. That is, I think there's actual phone calls too. Actually, I'm sure there are jail phone calls, but this jail visit is where, you know, they go to the actual jail and they talk through a glass barrier over the phones, and that audio is recorded just like a regular phone call. So that's on the first day of 2006, January 1st, and she made a number of visits to him over the course of the next couple of months. So, you know, I can't tell you too much about her. I just know that she began liking him, as you're going to hear in this call I'm going to play here in a minute. I'm just going to play a few clips out of it. I'm not going to play the entire thing because I think it's like 30 minutes long, so we're not going to play that entire thing. But you're going to hear something that it surprised me. Well, it didn't shock me, but it kind of did, because there's other calls between the January 1st, and this is, let's see. This call I'm going to play is on March the 2nd. This is just a few days before Jodi gets out. And then we're going to go step back in time just a little bit, and you'll see kind of what I feel, you know, in this effort with law enforcement to become a divider of the family. They did things to try to turn the family against each other, and it worked to some degree. And I understand it, you know, because, you know, you're hearing this from the police, and why would the cops lie to us? And I get that, you know, and they can be very persuasive. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to me. And to me, it's to the point of tampering with someone and how they approach, because it's manipulation of someone that's involved in a case that they're trying to charge. You know, they're trying to throw the book at this guy. They're investigating him. So they're going to go after people that are in his circle, right? And you start close, and then you start moving out. So start with family, and then, you know, here we got Jodi, and then this other person, Debbie. You know, I don't know how much interaction Debbie had with the police, but I dare say I can't imagine there wasn't some interaction. But nonetheless, I just feel like it's really bordering on witness tampering. I don't know how other people feel about it, but that's just the way I feel. And I felt strongly enough that I thought we should talk about it. So before I play this call, are there any or clips out of this or this jail visit? Comments, guys? Thoughts?
Yeah. Maz says she was a farmer's wife, and Kelly says that she started writing to Stephen. And Barb says she just came right out of the blue. But Sherry Lynn Pontillo says, what husband in the right mind would allow their wife to talk to another man she don't even know in prison in his presence? She had to have been inserted for a reason. She gets a lot of info from him.
Well, you know, I got to say to Sherry before you continue on with reading the comments is that I don't disagree, because At first, I thought it was kind of like an innocent infatuation. She heard about the case. It's kind of blown up. And this guy gets accused for a second time. And, that draws people because it's unique. But I can't disagree with Sherry. I almost think that she was a plant. I really do.
Yeah. Well, Barbie said, Debbie is nowhere to be found to this day. She don't even come around anymore. And then we've got Kelly Coles, who says there's a call where Chuck says he ended up sleeping with her and caught an STD. Stephen Avery is laughing. I don't think Stephen Avery actually wanted her, but she did do what he asked her to do for him and help him.
Yeah, there are various calls. That, again, you'll have to listen to them. They're too long to play all of them, in a podcast. But you'll hear Stephen talking to Jodi, because this becomes a real point of contention for a reason between Stephen and Jodi. And I get it. He's bored. He's sitting there staring at four walls, and there's only so many games of solitaire and only so much TV you can play. You want to talk to people, So from that aspect, no, go ahead.
Don't you guys think that it's very interesting that Chucky always wants to sleep with Stephen's women?
You noticed that too, huh? I sure noticed it.
Yes, what's up with that? I mean, it's one thing to be a family and brotherly love, but this is a little bit too much.
Well, sharing girls that are women that that are potentially whatever, and Chucky's outside, Stephen's inside, so Chuck just moves in. I don't know, but you're right.
I know, but he was after Jodi for so long. Remember, he was supplying cigarettes and alcohol to her. He was like really, really working her.
Oh, yeah.
Chucky's so horny, or is that forbidden fruit, or is it against Stephen? What is it?
Me love you long time? I don't.
Or is he just being like an asshole?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
In chat. Hey, Nosy. Nice to see you.
Hey, Nosy. That's my internet wife. So back off, guys. Back the hell off. That's my internet wife.
Zelma Lopez. Hi, Zelma. Thanks for joining. Says, guys, think that, well, she may have been a plant. You could hear his discomfort when she was making moves on him. He was pressured to say certain things to make sure you could he could get her help.
Yeah, there are certain segments of some of these jail visit audio. It's really weird. It really is. And but I'm going to play. Let's go ahead and play this next one. I'm just going to play a little bit of it, some of the beginning. Then I'll skip down to the end. I'll just remember, and this is the last call, jail visit for Debbie for now at least, because remember, like 4 days later, Jodi gets out. And then I can tell you from listening to these calls from January, and you move into March and late March and then going into April, the whole entire flavor changes of everything. It's so crazy. So, let's play a little bit of this and then we can have a little bit more discussion. Give me just 1 second here to get flipped over. All right. Okay. It's going to pop in there. And as you can see, this is at and just about every jail visit there is, it's around this between 7 and 8 their time. Some, I think a few of them are a little after 8, but all the ones that I've gotten are around this time frame. So let's listen a little bit of the beginning of this call, and then we'll move to the end of it. All right, so if you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute. So here we go.
Hi. Right. Yeah, I seen you. You did? Yeah. Oh, how'd I look? All right. Oh, they're just flocking for you out there. Every TV channel. Oh, yeah. And they're in the lobby. Oh, yeah? They'd even put me
be on walking in here.
I didn't show that.
No, it's going to be on at 10.
I'll be sleeping.
So, you didn't know you was in lockdown?
I just got out tonight.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
3:30, somewhere there.
That's terrible, because I kept calling your mom last night, and she didn't hear from you, and I said, I bet he's in lockdown.
No.
In the hole.
No. I'll talk to your daughter.
Yeah, she said you called.
Yeah, that's it. Can't go no more.
Can't go there.
Call no more.
Oh, you ain't back going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and she told me that you wanted me to call your mom and tell her you're going to call.
Yeah, I already talked to Marlo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, this is crazy shit.
It is. It's surprising.
Man.
Terrible. And they're asking me, how does he feel? How do you feel? And all this stuff. So
I feel like now they got somebody else involved.
Yeah. And I don't know.
I got a hunch they wrote it all on a paper, and he said it from the paper.
They pressured him. I know that.
Of course.
Because that's what interrogation is.
Oh, yeah.
And then, did you watch that news conference on that too?
No.
They said they were interviewing him, and I said, it ain't interviewing him, it's interrogating him. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Interviewing, you go willingly.
Well, how that won't make no sense. There'd be blood all over the goddamn house trailer.
That's what me and a lot of other people were saying.
Dragging her out like he said?
Yep. Yep. But that'll all come out in court.
Oh, what's going on?
So you won't go in court until the 17th?
Yeah.
I always was thinking this coming next week you were.
17. 2 o'clock.
Okay. So you did talk to your attorney?
No, I talked to Steve.
Oh.
Steve told me a little bit about it.
Oh. Then when are you going to talk to your attorney?
He's coming up tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Oh, he better be a dang good attorney.
Oh, he is.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way, now they really think they got you.
They ain't got me.
I know, in their minds, I mean.
They tore up that whole goddamn place.
I know, they took concrete out of your garage.
Oh, that's Rolly's garage, ain't mine.
Oh, well, a garage, I don't know whose. Someone's. Because they figure now they're so desperate, they're doing crazy things.
They want to nail me. And I don't know why. This bad anyway.
Like you said, because of that lawsuit.
Yeah, well, the lawsuit is done now.
And not only that, they got to have someone, they don't want to look stupid.
Well, I guess Bob is going to get an attorney.
For what? For her son?
Yeah.
Now she don't like you no more.
She don't know what to believe.
On TV, did you?
Okay, that's enough of the beginning of the call. And, you can see this is March 2nd, 2006. So, Neverly, Christina, what happened on March 2nd, 2006?
Press con? No.
Press conference.
Yeah.
Brendan was arrested the day before, and Kratz gets up on March 2nd, 2006, and broadcasts it to the truth of the world of all this insanity that they said Brendan told him. And he didn't have a shred of evidence, nothing. That would have never gotten out of FL or FK had it not been for that. So that wormed its way into, I said yesterday in reading with the crew, that got wormed its way into Stevens' trial somehow, and they gleaned that information from what they said. It was all set up. I mean, to me, it was. They had to have an excuse to get another search warrant to get into that garage. It's complete garbage and crap.
And when did they hammer the floor again? Or jackhammer the floor that she's talking about?
It was the evening of the 1st or early on the 2nd.
So they've let that out to the public quite quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Kratz couldn't wait to get in front of a camera and broadcast this as the truth. But he didn't have any proof. Jackhammered the floor up. They didn't find anything of Teresa on anything inside there but a movable dust-free bullet fragment. Hey, that's easy to take care of. So
yeah, they found Stephen's DNA just like he said they would, and that was it.
So anyway, some pretty candid conversation. Wow, that's flashing like that. Hold on. So pretty candid conversation, as you can tell. They're pretty chatty, pretty chummy. Then I want to move towards the end of this call, and I want you to hear what she says. Hopefully, we won't have to listen to too much of them. It's literally right before they hang up, and you can hear what Debbie says to him. So let me move this forward here. Let's see. Yeah. We'll go about right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna draft them right now below you. Yeah. So, I guess we'll have to see. Well, another way you can do it is if, Wednesday, if you can try my daughter's, and if you don't get through, try my house, and you'll know which one. Because I can keep on trying. Start Tuesday night. Yeah. Because I'll do it Tuesday morning. Yeah. Try both in one of them by Tuesday night, because sometimes they say it takes a couple hours to get the block off. No, 1, 2, 3 you're talking. Oh. So as you call. And they're so stupid at it lately. Yeah, I know. But I phone company doing that now. I'm gonna. So you can try Tuesday evening. Yeah. Both of them, whichever one you get through. Yeah. Yeah. Because I got to talk to my honey. Yeah. Well, that's the ones that cause you and Mom. Mostly. Yeah. 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 So. I gotta go back and read your mail. I got. Okay. That's all of it. Nothing else. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Yeah. I hope everything. Nothing else. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Yeah. I hope. Nothing else. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Yeah. I hope everything works out for you. I think so too. Okay. Yeah. Once we can break the setup, and once we can blame them, it won't be so bad. Yeah. Bye, honey. Okay, bye.
For dramatic effect, and not really editing, but I repeated it 3 times. Did you guys hear what she said?
What, that she loved him and he didn't say he loved her back?
He didn't say that.
No.
He never said that.
No. And he said, mostly all I talk to is you and my mom. It's like he doesn't know why she's interested in him. I think someone else said they thought that Stephen was only continuing talking to her because he couldn't understand why she would want to talk to him. Like he felt like it was kind of a plant,
I don't know that he necessarily felt that way, but he tells Jodi several times in these various jail visits that he wanted somebody to talk to.
Yeah. And then she tries to get her to do stuff for him, like he did with the family before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
and unless
helping.
Yeah, and unless you've been to jail, you can sit there and say, "Oh, I wouldn't talk to just anybody," yada yada yada. When you are in jail and someone's willing to pay to talk to you on the phone, it's hard not to call them. Okay.
That's what I say. There's only there's so many games of solitaire you can play, so much TV you can watch. You want to talk to people,
And you have to remember, Stephen was in solitary confinement, so he didn't have a TV. He didn't have cards. He didn't have anyone to talk to. He was.
Oh yeah, he had cards, and he did what he was able to watch some TV at times. I'm not saying all the time, but at times.
But he was in solitary confinement because he said something to Jodi about that. Unless they eventually put him in Gen Pop, he didn't have a rec, or what do they call it, a day room where after count they would let him out of his cell and he could go and mingle with the other inmates. He was stuck in
Yeah.
a cell like a death row inmate.
Well, I know that, he talks about, watching the news and that thing. So he had access to something that he was able to do that.
And what they probably had, because I've seen it, is they'll have one TV mounted outside of their cells that the guards control. So they'll turn it on, for a couple of hours when they remember, when they feel like it. Unless you've been to jail, you don't know what it's like. It sucks. I'm just putting it out there. It is no fun. And solitaire, don't cut it. Most of the times, within 2 days, somebody's stolen one of your cars because, they're bored. And so why do you get to have fun? It's just, it's not, if someone's willing to talk to you on the phone, you're going to call them, plain and simple. If they give you the phone to call them.
Well, and they were willing to give Stephen the phone pretty much whenever he wanted. I mean, there were times that he couldn't. There were times he couldn't make calls and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the reason they were willing to give him the phone, was because they wanted him to say something they could then manipulate and use in this Jodi war.
That's right.
And isn't there times where he doesn't get to use the phone, or they stop phone calls around things important?
When he gets thrown in the hole. Yeah, that's right. Around this time, or it's like the 27th. Allegedly he was on suicide watch or some made up horse shit.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Disco.
I also find very interesting how Debbie has warmed up to Stephen and found it very appropriate and comfortable to say that she loves him, even though she's never met him. And that's kind of pretty intimate, you know what I mean? Couples are very careful about that, who's going to say it, when, how long it's going to be, you know what I mean? And there she is, a married woman, saying that she loves this hot suspect, basically. And I don't mean hot and good looking, and I mean like high risk. So I don't know. He's already, very, very suspicious.
It is. And, I don't know. I know she's in Ma'am a couple of times with Dolores. We get to see her, but and I think she's with. I think she's at the Dolores and Alan's house in one scene for it's quick. It's not like long, but there are other calls that where this is after Jodi gets out in March. Because there's a lot of things that are being said that we don't get to hear them, but we get to hear Jodi talk about it, where she says that Debbie talked to Laura or Maura, one of the filmmakers, for an extended period. Apparently that didn't happen, but there are a couple of these jail visits where Laura came with them to the jail. I don't know if they got footage of him inside there. Maybe they did. I don't know, but they definitely did come, which is interesting. But this this jail visit I just played was for a reason, and we're going to step back in time. Not quite a month prior to this, Jodi's still in jail. Now, and again, remember this time frame that Debbie's talking to him. This is on the 2nd, and shit has hit the fan after Krat's press conference. And I'm sure that, everyone's reeling. I'm sure, Barb and their family is reeling from all this shit that's happened to Brendan. So, she goes and visits, and, but let's step back in time here. Let me pull this one. Yeah, this is the first one. And this is one of the interviews that I got, from my March 15, 2022 open records request. We get it turned on. And again, this is an hour and a half. I'm not going to play all that. We're going to play a little bit of it just to get the gist of where we're at. And this is, again, going back to manipulation and how far the police went to turn Jodi against Stephen. So let me turn this on. Oh, are there any comments before I start this? Alice, anyone?
Yeah, just a quick one from Becca Jack. She says, I might have missed this, but I thought I heard that Debbie was the one who helped get the documentary crew involved. Is that true?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know that for sure, Becca, but I don't remember saying anything about that. As I understand it, from the declarations that Laura and Maura turned over, they learned about the case in the media and became interested. And I think it was Laura that first went and checked it out, or maybe, I don't know, maybe in Maura, I don't know. One of the two of them went to Manitowoc to check it out, and that's when they decided that they wanted to document it.
Yeah, they specifically went there for this case. So Debbie didn't have much to do with this. They wanted to do the case. Moira and Laura.
Yeah. So, okay. Get back up. That one. Okay. I'm going to get this turned on and we'll play a little bit of this, and so you get the bearings of what we're. Just 1 second here. All right, that's going to pop in. Let's play just a few minutes of this. Again, I'm not going to play all this, but you'll understand. And this interview here is Wiegert and Wendy Baldwin. And here we are, February 15th. This is probably a couple of days after Stephen settled his federal lawsuit for $400,000. 160,000 went to Glenn and Kelly, and 240,000 went to Buting and Strang. So that's where we are here in that time in real time. And Jodi's still in jail. She's not released yet. I'm talking about this other thing that got thrown on her there at the end of October. She's still in jail for whatever reason. I can't tell you all the reasons why, but she's still there. This is 3 weeks approximately before she gets released. So let's listen to a little bit of this. If you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute.
Yeah, no.
So, I'm just not clear. Who do you think would have planted the evidence? The cops, you mean, or?
I don't know. Family member, citizen, what do you think?
Just be honest. That's fine. No matter what you.
At times, I think Chucky could have done it.
What makes you think that?
Because he wants to go out with me.
Why?
He always has.
So you think Chucky would take somebody and kill them and burn them just so he could go out with you?
Get Steve in trouble and get him out of the picture?
Yeah, could have. I don't know. So much goes on through my head.
I'll bet you it does.
Well, just think about the facts of the case for a little bit. Where would Chucky get Steve's blood?
I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to try to convince you to believe one way or another, but the facts are what the facts are, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think deep down in your heart you know what happened. You really do. And it's probably hard for you to come to terms with that since you've had a relationship with him, would be my guess. It would be for anybody. Nobody wants to think that somebody that they care about and love will do something like that. But I don't think he really loves you, I'll be honest with you. Okay?
Yeah.
I think he's using you.
I think once he gets out, he's going to use you more.
Well, Monday when we talked, he told me it's my fault. That if I wasn't in here now, this wouldn't have happened.
What do you think he meant by that?
I don't know.
What do you think he meant
That
by
if I wasn't in here now, I don't know, that's just the way he said it. If this wouldn't have happened.
What's your first gut reaction to that comment? What do you mean if this went to, what are you talking about? What was the first thing that ran through your head when you heard that? It's kind of a bizarre statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's blaming what happened.
Me being in here now.
Is why this stuff happened to him.
Yeah. I told him if
I'm going to pause it right here for a second. And I think that Stephen's meaning behind it is that she would have been at the trailer on the 31st. That's what I think. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's exactly what Stephen is talking about, right? Alibi?
Yeah. I think that's what it is. She could have followed that. She doesn't do him any favours by not clarifying that. But to be fair,
Correct.
I think she's pretty fair. She holds her own in this. This is a difficult interview for her. Very personal and very manipulative.
I didn't realize, I mean, I knew, but I did not realize that they kept her in jail this many days later. You know, when they let her out, when she started swinging their way.
Well, no, not immediately. She didn't know. That was up to her. Well, we're going to get to it, but you'll see. And there's things that have clearly happened that we don't have information for, and we don't have any audio or documentation. We can only speculate. But this interview here, and we're going to get to some more stuff a little bit later. I mean, all this is geared towards swinging her away from Stephen. Again, more isolation, away from family, away from girlfriend, because we have to remember that Stephen and Jodi were together way before October 31st, 2005. They've been, I mean, she was with him when he filed the lawsuit, the federal lawsuit, in the middle of October 2004. They were together.
And that's right. And they're keeping her. Not only does she not have Stephen, she also doesn't have money on her books. She doesn't have cigarettes. She doesn't have a drink. And do you know how badly she wants a drink right now? I mean, she was just done.
Well, message from Barbie Ellen in chat. She says, "That's the bitch that tried to get me to say Stephen molested me. She's a bitch. But Stephen did love her."
Yeah, I think so too. And I honestly think, at least for a period of time, I think she really cared about Stephen. But I can't help but think that she was looking at dollars too, right? To get her out of the, because I'm not knocking Jodi, because it happens to a lot of people. She's an alcoholic. She had a problem. She had a real problem. And we know that from the numerous DUIs. She refused to, just sit at home and have her beer or whatever the hell she was drinking and not get behind the wheel. And it cost her a lot of time and a lot of family problems. Daughter was taken away from her, as far as I know, and it happens to a lot of people. Again, I'm not down on her for that, because it happens to a lot of people. And but still, you can hear it in the way they're talking to her. Just right off the bat, they're already throwing the knives, throwing the darts at Stephen to get her to turn. Well, he didn't really love you. He didn't. You heard what Wiegert said. So
You know what's interesting is, I think by this time, Wendy Baldwin, the new chick, had 4 DUIs of her own. And I have the documents to back that up.
Yeah, we have to look at her record, but I think you're right. I think she had her 4th one by 2004. We looked at and found out. We hadn't presented that information yet, but
yeah, it just dawned on me.
Oh yeah,
like, who is she to sit there and act all high and mighty over anyone? And who lets a cop who has 4 DUIs be a cop?
She's the new chick. Come on, Christina. Yeah, no, that's terrible. It's terrible. All right, so let's listen a little bit more of this, and we're gonna move on here to hear short.
even if I wasn't here, this would have happened. And he said, no, it wouldn't have.
Well, you would have protected her or something?
Is that what you think he's getting at? Is this stuff meaning her dying and killing her wouldn't have happened? Is that what he's, I mean, I don't know.
I didn't question him because it didn't dawn on me until we hung up.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about after you hung up? What did you think about what he said?
thought he was an idiot.
Where in the world did that comment come from, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm going to do, Jodi, is I'm going to play a phone conversation for you, okay? It happened to be on Monday, okay? What time did you talk to him?
8.
Okay. Well, this is prior to you and him talking then, okay? And it's a phone conversation between him and Debbie, okay? Because I think you need to know what's going on. You know, he's obviously lying to you. You want to listen to that with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I asked you before, what's gonna make up your mind actually hearing it?
Yeah.
Is that what's gonna do it for you? There's no way we can manipulate voices,
Yeah, I
okay?
know.
You know, his mom can talk all she wants about we could have done this or that to the letters to, you know, alter those or what we.
I gotta wake this baby up first.
But she could have every excuse. That's not the case, but voices, you know his voice.
Mm-hmm.
This obviously isn't your voice, the female, okay? And it's her phone number. Need somebody here to help you?
I don't know why it's not waking up.
Sleeping, we need some
Why don't
coffee.
you see if Davey's there? I mean, computers don't always get along, Jodi. You know how it is?
Yep.
It's not awake.
Uh-oh. Fell asleep on you.
Yeah. How come she ain't waking up on you?
Something's blinking when I get if it's.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are they doing?
They're queuing up a call from Debbie. They want to play for her. You heard what Wendy said. There's no way we can manipulate you. Well, bullshit. That's what you're doing right now. Well, let's listen to a little bit of that, and then we're going to stop.
Can you hear it?
I apologize. This is the recording we got, so it's as loud as it is.
Hello? This is a public communication services collect call from an inmate at the Calumet County Jail. The use of
This is
three-way or a call waiting will disconnect the call.
Prior
This
to
call
you.
will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, dial 5 now.
And I think that's enough of that. That's just to get the gist and the flavor in real time. So here they are in the middle of February, and I don't care what Wendy Baldwin says. They are trying to manipulate her. Because Wiegert says, we think you need to know what's going on. So why would he do that unless he's trying to manipulate her? Right?
That's exactly what they're trying to do, Jack. They're trying to piss her off so that she'll get angry and be like, that fucking arsehole, here, let me tell you everything I know. You know what I mean? That's exactly what they were doing. The way they set it up, the way they say to her, well, it's no his mum's voice. She can say whatever she wants, and it's no your voice. So, but it's another female voice. You know, that's them setting up and then taking all that time to set up that call, air quotes, for her sitting there so that her clocks are ticking going, what the fuck are they going on about? What other female call? You know what I mean? So it was to try and rile her up, to get her angry, to get her upset so that she would then spill what she knew. It was a fucking setup all along.
That's why the new chick's there too, dressed in her little fancy clothes with her hair done and her makeup done.
She does say, like, I'm a woman too, I'm looking out for you, like trying to play the card, which is really manipulative. But not even that. She's nowhere to go. She can't walk out and leave.
No.
Hey, I got to say hello, Dr. Silkman. How are you, sir?
Good. Yes, I've been listening from the start. I had a couple of errands to do this morning, but I really had to join in. And hi, everyone on panel. Hi, everyone in chat. I mean, to me, it demonstrates the sheer desperation by law enforcement. And not only that, the disgusting depth that they would go to talk to someone like Jodi, when you consider that Jodi was not even on the premises, on the salvage yard, so she would have known absolutely nothing of what transpired. And I agree with you. Their aim was to get her pissed off. And what do? They use the common thing of human jealousy. Two women, one against the other, and their whole aim, I agree with Alice, their whole aim was to get Jodi so rolled up that she would have spilt the beans. You know, obviously what they're after here is some type of conversation that took place prior to October 31st, prior to Teresa Halbach ever coming on the property. What they wanted is some type of confession from Jodi to say, yeah, Stephen had a plan. He wanted to kill someone. And I thought he was only joking. Ha, ha, ha. That's what they're after. And look what they're doing. They're setting up a triangle between two women and Stephen. And this is meant to be a professional law enforcement outfit. They're gutter trash.
That's exactly right, Doc. That's exactly what I saw too. And you know, what we're covering here, I mean, it's good, and we're conveying quite a bit, but you have to listen to the calls. And I know it takes time, but you have to listen to these calls and these jail visits, because I'm telling you, we're going to get a little bit. I'm not going to play more of that one because, like I said, it's an hour and a half long. You can listen to it; it's in the playlist, but it's absolutely crazy. We're going to play. Go ahead.
Sorry, Texas. What I was going to say was, you know, it's amazing. They tried that shit on her before, right? And then they finally got to the weakest link, Brendan Dassey, right? Eventually. And now what they're trying to do is they know that Jodi is easily manipulated, right? Because she's in a very vulnerable position.
That's right.
The depth of despair and desperation that these fuckwits are prepared to go to, talking to someone who wasn't even there, it just goes to show that they spent more time off the case rather than investigating the case, if you know what I mean. It's shocking.
It was never about Teresa, was it? It was never
No.
about Teresa
Nope.
at all.
Nope.
This is fantastic proof, guys, that they're doing everything in their power. And I agree with what you said before, guys. They're isolating him because remember, Stephen is regarded as the so-called pin-up boy for the Innocence Project. And now this is all part of making him to become a monster that he really was. So they're destroying him. They're dressing him down. And they're starting with who? His own fiance. You can't get any better than that.
Yeah, you know, and this whole thing going back a little bit to, in this particular interview, Stephen said it was her fault. It's not really her fault. I guess it is, but I still say that he meant that she would have been present at the trailer, you know, on that day, and you know, she could have been an alibi witness. Of course, he had one, and they completely destroyed him because. You guys have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was after this interview she put in that she did not want any further contact with Mark and with the police. Don't bother me. I have nothing else to say. And then after this is when they went to after Brendan within a little over a week.
Yeah,
so
100% correct. And you now start to wonder whether Debbie was herself a honeypot designed to get Stephen rolled up and to get this conflict between both Jodi and Debbie and Stephen. You start to wonder, you know, there's some pretty weird stuff going on here.
I can't discount that, and the more I've listened to it, the more I really kind of have to think that that's exactly what happened, because as far as I can find out, as Barb said, and I think Kelly said it as well in chat, she started writing Stephen first. However, she heard about the case, got letters to him, boom. They start getting in phone contact, and within 90 days, she says, "I love you," calling him his or honey.
That whole, she has to be a serial killer or one of those killer groupies. If she's not a plant by the state, she's a groupie. Like, you know what I mean? She's attracted to the macabre.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for her to be like, I can't understand someone who didn't know him previous being that smitten that quick. Before I have to mute, we have to get a screenshot of Wendy Baldwin. We have very little photos of her. And there's like a good one of her in that interview. So,
yeah, you know, I was thinking about that. I was thinking to myself, was that Wendy that got up? And I'd actually forgot about this interview. Yeah, I forgot about this, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, because the only really photo we have of her, or I know of her, is at the cop burning effigy that her and Bass got in trouble with.
Yeah.
Right? I don't really know of any photos of her other than that.
Well, I mean, that's a very important point. And I have a lot of suspicions about Wendy Baldwin because, you know, she was the so-called new chick, and she was absolutely, she's the female version of Colburn, right? When you consider where Wendy Baldwin was, think about it. She's the new person, and she's in the aeroplane with Pagel on the flyover on the 4th. She's all over the Avery salvage yard. She's getting search warrants from judges. And now she's being involved in interviews. And I agree with what you said. You know, she's with her long blonde hair, all dressed hoity-toity. And you've got poor Jodi in her orange jail garb. And they're playing a call involving another third party, Debbie. Of course Jodi's going to get upset and react to it. I just can't understand. I can't understand the motivation of people like Wiegert, Baldwin, all of them. Aren't they meant to be solving a murder?
Yeah, here's the thing, Doc. I don't think Wiegert was smart.
Well, he's being directed. You know, you're right. He's being directed.
And I don't know if Kratz was either. Like
He's
who's pulling the strings here?
You know, you got Fallon too. Fallon's a smart bastard. You can't discount.
Fallon's definitely smart, and he's been around the
Never,
block for a minute. See, Kratz hadn't had many murder cases prior to this. He didn't have cases where you had to orchestrate a confession, because that's what we're doing, right? This is like DCI DOJ type. This is the big boys playing games. I don't know. That's just my thought. You know what I mean? Calumet and Manitowoc are not a big murder producing county where they have to bring the suspect in and set the scene and get, because remember, Fassbender, that's another one now. Fassbender was very much controlling the interview of Brendan. He could have orchestrated this too, because he thought he was.
Don't forget about Gene Cachet. That's one smart bastard there too.
And, and Strauss too.
Neverly, comment?
Yeah. Yeah, well, back to Jodi. Look, she was in jail for her wrongdoing. Okay, she has a problem and whatnot. So here come Tom Fassbender and Mark Wiegert. I mean, Wendy Baldwin and Wiegert, right? And they're talking to her as buddy. They're concerned about Jodi's well-being and her relationship status. Give me a break. To me, it's just another clear example of them dividing and conquering, because they did that already with the family. So who's left? Jodi, right?
Yeah, and you guys can comment on this. Do y'all find it strange that Fassbender's not present? And you remember, now we're middle of February, and Fassbender's not in that room.
I'm telling you that Wendy Baldwin goes in to have the woman's touch when they want any dirty work done.
Yes, so she could relate.
To take Baldwin along.
Yes, so she could relate. And also, they not only bring this, which is a very touchy subject in any relationship. I'm sorry, but it is. Jealousy is just not jealousy, but betrayal. When somebody is cheating, quote unquote, that's just like, it couldn't get more personal than that. So they're doing that. And also later on, they're mentioning her daughter. You would like to see her daughter, right? Well, hit it, while it's hot, I guess. So they're doing everything to turn her around. But to her defense, Jodi did really well during this interview. Really well under these circumstances. When she found out that Stephen is talking to another woman. She did really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, she said.
If it was just Wiegert and Fassbender, it just wouldn't have been delivered in the same way. Do you know what I mean? She might not have believed them. Where I think.
Well, it might not have had the same impact.
No, yeah, I've got a feeling, and I'd heard that it was maybe Fassbender that had maybe requested that she didn't get out, but he would have the power for that because he's DOJ. But that was just
he's a DCI agent, but again, he wasn't there, and allegedly, and we're going to hear a little bit later on. Well, we won't hear it tonight, but we've got the interview. Fassbender did not meet Jodi until September of 2006, which I found really strange. But what the hell, man?
Maybe Wendy was placed there because, when you go to the doctor's office and it's a female patient and a male doctor, they have to have another female present. Maybe that's the reason too.
I don't know.
I don't know.
To me, it's a form of intimidation. That's what it is. You've got another female in the room, she's free, she's all pretty, she's all dolled up, and here you've got Jodi in a very vulnerable position. And what they're trying to do is to play the betrayal card, Neverly, like you said. And, there's nothing worse than a female that's scorned, and they were hoping to strike gold. That's their whole motivation.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly right. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, So that was February, and we played. I played some Debbie. I did that intentionally because now the call that they just played for her wasn't as far as advanced as the one I played. It doesn't matter. It still sets the stage for the involvement of Debbie in Stephen's life, and there are other calls, and it really becomes a problem. I'm not going to play all of them. You'll just have to listen to them once everything gets uploaded. But there are other calls where this becomes a real problem between Stephen and Jodi. And this all originates, again, from Wiegert and Baldwin. I'm sure that, she heard from Chuck and other people too that Stephen was talking to her, but still, that's one thing to hear about it from your family or your boyfriend's family or something of that nature. It's another thing entirely for the police to get involved. I mean, to me, it is to manipulate, and that's exactly what they did. So this next call is a Jodi call that we're moving forward to March 9th. Here, let me get it turned on. And we're just going to play a little bit of this call or this visit. I'm just going to play a little bit of this one, and just so you can understand. And I think in this one, if I'm remembering correctly, Jodi's moving shit out of the trailer. She's got back, so she's been back at the trailer probably a couple of days at this point. The 9th, I think she got released on the 6th. Yeah, I think it's like 5 days after Brendan was arrested. So the trailer is a damn disaster. And they talk about that quite a bit. And you can tell the definite change in mood with Stephen. So I'm going to play a little bit of this, and then we'll have a little discussion. So here we go. Remember, if you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute YouTube.
So you wear my jacket.
Yeah, I don't know where mine are.
You should be able to hang it up.
I didn't look in there.
Oh.
But I don't know.
I'd imagine they're in there.
No, because I think I put them in the box and put them in the other trailer. I think so.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
No, it's been too long.
Yeah.
Why?
Too long.
I know. I love you.
I love you too.
I know. Yeah, I'd write her, but I don't want to.
Well, then don't.
Why should I?
To tell her you're staying with me.
He's talking about Debbie. Tell her you're staying with me.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that. I'm worried about you, that's all.
Yeah, well, if she thinks you hurt her or whatever, she could, I don't know.
She can't do nothing.
Did she say anything more about me calling her? Do you still have that letter?
Yes.
Send it to your mom.
I'll send it to you?
Or to me, but send it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because your mom wants to call her, but she wants to see that it's in writing, and she's going to have your dad or somebody, or Laura, be on the other line listening.
Mail?
Well,
I'll send it. I'll send a couple of them. Or whatever, I don't know.
This call may be monitored or recorded.
You gotta talk to my lawyer about almost after 2:30.
What's that?
2:30. It took me about 2 minutes to get back.
Okay, that's enough of that one. You get the gist of where they're at. Again, some of this beginning of the call is Jodi talking about getting stuff out of the trailer, and then this comes up about Debbie, and this is going to get worse. And the next one I'm going to play. First, is there any comments about this one? Anything you guys want to? Any comments? Okay. All right, this next one I'm going to play is an audio call. It has not been uploaded. It's not been converted to a little movie yet, so we can get it in the playlist. And hold on, just This is from March the 6th. I'm sorry, April the 6th. And, you know, as I went through these calls, typically speaking, or these jail visits, typically speaking, Jodi goes with Ma Avery. Pretty much at this point all the time. That's her ride. She can't drive, obviously. She didn't have a car. So, but we'll listen a little bit of this call, see if you can tell any difference between how it's been kind of lovey-dovey and so forth and so on until now. Hold on just a second. It should pop in there. Yep, there it is. Yep, this is March 6th, 2006. It says 1920, says 7:26 p.m. So, again, typical time. So let's listen to a little bit of this, and we'll discuss.
Hello.
Hi.
Notice there's no "I love you," "How you doing," blah blah blah. It's completely different. Continue to listen.
Huh? I wasn't even going to come. Because every morning you want to play games.
Who's playing games?
My whole family.
How?
Well, I discussed two people. Chucky and Loren. Because they think you can hide shit from me.
Who's hiding anything?
You.
What am I hiding?
Yeah. How did you get my car?
I was going to tell you that looking at your face, not over the phone.
I don't care.
I had to come to get my purse. They wouldn't release it to him. I had to sign for it. I was going to tell you today here, face to face.
That ain't the only thing. Chucky knows everything. I don't know shit.
Chucky knows what?
You two talk.
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I already talked to him.
So? We don't talk that often.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm waiting till next week. I go to court, see what they're going to do.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because this case might be all over with.
What do you mean?
What? I mean, I'm getting out of this family. I don't want to be in it. What is it? I don't know. I won't have to worry about the weather.
Knock it off.
It's okay.
There's nothing going on by us.
Oh, no. there ain't nothing going on.
No, there ain't, Stephen. I love you.
Then why are you with him?
You. I ain't with anybody but you.
She only went with him to get the stuff. To get her first, really. Those are rules.
It's fine for you to do it, though, right?
I ain't doing it.
You were.
I don't know nothing. Chucky knows it all. He knows everything.
No, he don't.
He don't.
Yeah, what does Chucky know?
Well, you're ready to leave.
He listens to phone calls.
All right, that's enough of that. I'll try to get the rest of these uploaded for the April when I get done with them. I don't think I've got just a few left to do for April, and I'll get those to Zoe so you can listen to that. But suffice it to say, they get into a huge fight, and it's this thing that's all started. And again, I know that Jodi's heard stuff outside of what Wiegert and Baldwin did, but still, I think they really planted the seed and turned the screws on her in February. So,
can I just make a comment?
Please,
can I just make the comment? When you listen to a call like that, it's extremely very depressing. And I do agree with Maz in chat, who talks about Stephen being dominating. I think she's referring to Stephen, and controlling. I think the whole thing is that I think that the main issue now is that Stephen has feelings of paranoia and he can't trust anyone. And that's exactly what law enforcement want. Confusion, chaos, mistrust. You can't even rely on your own family and your own fiance. He's feeling very isolated and lonely. That is for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Go ahead, Neverly. No, go ahead.
I can totally see why he would be acting like this. Stephen, I mean, he is in prison again for something that he didn't do. Again. So imagine his psyche. Of course, I mean, he can only do so much, and he needs to keep that control so he wouldn't snap. And what does he get in return? Shit from everybody and everything. So yeah, I would be jealous too. I'm sorry, but I would be. Because your mind you have plenty of time to have your mind just run endlessly.
Yep.
And you become paranoid. Of course you do.
And not even like paranoid, but like to want people to know you might know that something's going wrong. You're not a fool. Like not just be totally oblivious of it. He pulls it up about it because he senses something's wrong. And I think there might have been intimacy with Chuck and Jodi. I wouldn't rule it out.
But what is very interesting, it's clearly he doesn't trust his brother Chuck. He really has a big issue with Chuck.
Huge.
And he's setting up this form of mistrust between Chuck and Jodi, because he brings it up all the time in calls. This really pisses Jodi off to say, hey, look, there's nothing going on. But you wonder how much information Steve knows about what's happened to his brothers before. I'm talking about their criminal records and their past, how much Stephen actually knows. And he has a lot of distrust.
Oh, I can only imagine, Doc, that on the visits, that Ma and Pa Avery went to see him in prison, that he wasn't told. I'd have to believe he was. Oh, Chucky got in trouble and this happened. I would bet he did know. If not, maybe necessarily all of it, but a good chunk of it.
Yeah, correct. And if you've got some type of mistrust issue with your own brother or brothers, and now you have mistrust issue with your own fiance, that's a deadly path. It really, really is.
Yep. And I think law enforcement saw that opportunity to turn that
Oh, they
screw.
loved it.
Absolutely, they did. And
They
again,
loved it. Now,
go ahead.
I was going to say, now they introduced the Debbie factor as well. And don't forget, guys, you can also see pictures, images of Debbie in the court during the trial. She was sitting right behind Stephen, right? And, you could imagine someone like Jodi looking back at, say, that trial footage, that really would have incensed her as well.
Yeah, there's actually a one of these jail visit call recordings that he's going to court. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's sometime in April. And Stevens talked about her going. She said, "Oh, I can't go." And the no contact order's already been put in place. So she can't go. He says, "You can go. It's court." And she says, "I'm not taking that chance." So he's talking about, talking to the lawyers, see if, she's allowed to go and blah, blah, blah. She was So by April of 2006, they had already told her, you can't have any contact with him.
Correct. And so, the fantastic thing about this particular episode is we can see the manipulation of the family by law enforcement, by external forces against everyone in that family. And you're thinking to yourself, guys, what is the relevance of this? Why aren't they solely focusing on the forensic evidence, focusing on the murder event itself? Why was law enforcement so adamant of involving the family and causing this internal conflict, which unfortunately is still going on today? What is their motivation, guys?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And unfortunately, the other effect that it had was it distracted Stephen as well.
Correct.
So distracted. You could hear it in his voice. So a complete change from, just say back when he was talking to Debbie, that one call I played, and then these other calls I played for these visits between Jodi and Stephen, and, things were jokey and, the mood was light, and it's completely changed now. So, if you listen, as April goes even further, it gets worse. They get into a huge fight when she's there. She actually hangs up and walks away, and he's sitting there on the phone. It's still recording, and he's telling Dolores to have her come back. We've only got so much time. Blah blah blah. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So, okay. Anyone else before I play this next clip? We good? Okay, this next clip, let me get it turned on here. This is moving forward quite a bit. Again, we're focusing on manipulation by law enforcement. And this clip here, this is, I'm just going to play a little bit of it. It's about a 25-minute clip, but this is we don't have to play nearly that much for you to understand, again, what I'm talking about. Jodi's, of course, out of jail, and but they call her in. I guess she decides to go in and do another interview. And this is what they do. So let's play some of this. Again, if you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute YouTube. All right, here we go.
So when did you get put in?
Tuesday.
I just want to make it clear to you, you're not under arrest for anything. No. You don't have to talk to me, you understand that? You can get up and walk out anytime, okay? Why don't you try the door just to prove?
I'm not worried.
Okay, so you can walk out of here anytime, you know that.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk to me.
Yeah.
All right. 31st today already, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You want me to show you the phone calls first?
Yeah.
See how many there are?
Yeah, there's probably quite a few.
Yeah, there is. I suppose now it's shut down on me because I was sitting in here too long. See if it comes back up, or do I gotta restart it? Looks like I gotta restart it, so it'll take a minute or two. Making noise, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Me and computers usually don't get along very well.
No,
No.
I'm good with computers.
Are you?
Yes. Seeing I got you here,
Sure.
can I come down there and get my stuff?
Come down where?
Wherever you have my stuff.
What do we have of yours yet? Do you know?
The bed, a lot of stuff in the filing cabinet, my dog's ashes, if you still have those,
If we took it, we have it.
my daughter's grass skirt, and I don't know what else. I've never seen a list actually of everything you took yet.
Well, why don't you do this? Put together a list of what you think we took,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll see what I can do about getting that back for you. How's that?
Okay.
All right. Come on over and take a look. This thing shuts off. 667. That's all Debbie's.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the date: the 15th, the 15th, the 16th, the 16th, 16th. Let's see. There's 17th, 17th, 18th, 18th, 18th again, and that's as far as I've got. I got the other one, but I didn't bring it along.
Okay.
Matter of fact, up until day before yesterday, he gave me a phone call to her.
I believe it.
You want to listen to any of them, or?
The last two.
We'll put the last one on here and see what that sounds like.
Okay, that's a little 4 minutes, that call. That's enough to get the gist. Again, it's manipulation of Jodi. So now here we are at the end of August. So I'm guessing, this is a guess, I'm speculating. He's going down a list of calls, and he named off a bunch of different dates. And I don't know, there may have been visits as well. I don't know that. I don't have anything beyond, or as far as jail visits, I don't have anything beyond June. There's only a few in June. Nonetheless, playing these calls, here we are, February until April. I'm sorry, August. That's 6 months later. They're still trying to manipulate her with Debbie. What's I tell you guys? What are they doing? I mean, to me, it's Christina.
Well, in my opinion, they're desperate to get more dirt to try and get Jodi. They're trying to use Debbie to get Jodi to flip to their side. What do y'all think they want her to say? That
I think they just want to isolate him. I just think that because she was kind of fighting in his corner and was outside and could do things, and I just think they just isolated Stephen and cut off all his ties systematically.
But what did they think that was going to do? I mean, you know what I mean? He didn't confess to a crime he didn't commit in 85. They know he didn't commit this crime. I mean, we can pretend they didn't know, but let's be real here. We know they knew he was innocent. I don't know what happened to her, but by this point, they know the story Brendan's telling is a lie of how she died. What Kratz is saying is a lie. They're hiding bones in the Manitowoc County quarry. I mean, what did they want from her? Did they want her to say Stephen confessed?
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they wanted, Christina.
They wanted more than that too, but we're going to get to it. But go. I'm sorry, Alice. They wanted more than that, and we're going to get to it. Go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, they definitely wanted more than that, Jack. They played these tapes for her because they were hoping that you've got to remember they've been listening to every fucking call that Stephen has made
And
from day
visit.
fucking dot. Exactly, Jack. And his visits and fucking recording his when he's in with his lawyers and all. So I wouldn't put nothing past them. But the fact that they are playing these calls for her when there's Debbie and Stephen or hiya, oh how's it going? That was for her to flip her lid and be like, the dirty cheating bastard, how dare he, blah, 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 blah. Here, let me tell you, he's telling me this, and this person's involved, and that person's involved, and Stephen's the main culprit. That's what they wanted to do to Jodi, and that's what they were trying to do. Like everybody else has said, they were trying to divide Stephen from everybody. They done a good job with his family because you have the interview where Barb, and I don't blame Barb because of what they done to her son and everything like that, but you've got the interview with Barb saying that, no in these precise words, but Stephen's a bastard for what he's done to her son, and how could you do that, and yada yada, you know what I mean? So they'd already caused the divide in the family and separated him from some members of his family. Then, so the next one was the woman that he loved, and that was Jodi. So playing these calls, they thought was going to do this for Jodi, but it didn't, and it kind of backfired on them in a way. And because they couldn't get Jodi and couldn't get her to flip the way they wanted her, that's when they went after poor Brendan.
Yeah. Doc, go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with Alice. And I think the motivation for law enforcement was to silence everyone out in the community. In other words, basically to convince his family and Stephen's fiance, girlfriends, or whatever of his guilt. So, in other words, if they're convinced of Stephen's guilt, they're not going to be talking to the press, the media, saying, look what they've done. They wanted to cut that avenue off. So they spent an extraordinary amount of time causing a division between Stephen, his own family, his own fiance, and friends. So they're trying to, I agree with people in chat, they try to isolate him, make him look like the bad guy. And that's the approach, remember, that's the approach that Kaczynski took immediately. That is, that Stephen was guilty, and Stephen had forced his nephew, Brendan, to be a co-conspirator. So the focus of the attention was on Stephen, to isolate him, make him look like a bad guy, and lose the support of his loved ones. Therefore, they're not going to cause a stink out in the community to say, look what they've done to my brother, again, all over again. So they try to cause conflict, and unfortunately, it has been successful.
Bethany in chat said that she believes that LE wanted Stephen to actually off himself because they put him under such pressure. you know,
Actually, you know what?
turning the whole family against him, and now the most intimate relationship, which is with his beloved fiance. He loved Jodi. He really did, as
He did.
evidenced by the effort and actions he's done for her.
Yeah. And even the way he talks to Debbie, it's like he's trying to still be faithful to Jodi, but yet not lose this connection to the outside world.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that, Neverly and Bethany. I think, if not get him to commit suicide, set the stage for if there was ever an opening for a suicide to occur, maybe not a suicide per se, but
looks like a suicide.
Exactly. Yeah, you said it, not I. That it could be more believable, right? Because right now they have Steven saying, you know, I'm fighting this, blah, blah, blah. I think once or twice he made, because Steven's smart. He knows if he says that he's going to kill himself on a recorded line, he's going to the box. That's an automatic suicide watch. And he's not the smartest cookie, but he's smart enough to know that.
Well, during some of these moments of the arguments, I think it was in April, if they're not uploaded yet, he does make a couple of slide comments. Well, he says, I'm just going to take the easy way out.
Yeah.
He says that a couple of times, which I know what that means. But again, here we are. Let's go back to November 5th, 2005. They immediately go after her. The day they found the rap, and they've kept after her, and I'm not covering all of it at all, and I'm not even talking about what's on paper, the interviews that are not necessarily recorded, or anything that didn't make it to an audio recording or to a Calumet County report, because I'm sure that happened too. I'm sure of it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just disgusted that they would go to these lengths. I agree with Doc. Aren't they really concentrating on the forensics and other things that they could factually put together? It's because they didn't have it. I'm sorry, they didn't have it. And on top of that, family, friends, his fiance, and even now think about Orville Jacobs. He was in D Block or that area, and he made that call. You know, he made that call to his brother. We've got an 8-minute call. I'll try to get more of them. They say they don't exist, but I'm not done with that yet either. But and there's some discussion about Avery. So even people that he was there in jail with. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Barb said Brendan was a frightened little boy. They abused him to the max. They abused all my boys. Yeah, but the one that got it the worst was Brendan. The way they went after that lad is despicable.
It's disgusting.
Deplorable.
It's disgusting.
It is, Jack. It's disgusting. And I don't know how these men sleep at night knowing what they did to a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old boy, because he was 15 when this all fucking started. And it just infuriates me so much. And she said, Barb says, they put Brendan on suicide watch too, because he wrote a poem from a book and was going to send it to me. That's when he was in Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, even putting Brendan there, as I understand it, and Barb can correct me if I'm wrong, but they could have housed Brendan in Manitowoc and made it much easier for the family to visit him, and they didn't do it. They moved him all the way to Sheboygan, which was, as I recall, is quite a little drive for them because, you know, they work. You know, Barb had to work, so I think that was a, 30, 45-minute drive each way. So
yeah, but that was a plan as well, though, Jack. Put Brendan as far away as possible to isolate him as well, because they did exactly the same with Stephen. They had Stephen across the other end of the bloody country at one point, and I think they said it took them like 15 hours or something like that to drive to one.
He was in Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
his first time around, he was in Tennessee for a little while.
Keep them away so that the family didn't have any influence on them. I mean, especially Brendan, because he was so young and so malleable at the time. They had got into Brendan's head with everything and got him to make that bloody horrible confession. And they didn't want Barb and that to be going to visits and everything like that.
Of course
and
not.
Talking and getting him to change his mind, and be like, well, why did you say this? Why did you say that? Brendan, and like back him up, because I think if that happened with Brendan might have stood up a wee bit to them, but by then it was too late. He was in the jail, so they tried to keep him away.
They did the same thing to Brendan that they did to Stephen. They isolated him. And, to a kid, Brendan was slow at the time anyway. I'm sure he's grown up now, but, he was a slow, introverted kid. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just who he was as a child, and to isolate him even further, put him 50, 60 fucking miles away from his mom and, his brothers and, family and friends, that creates a bubble. And, I could just see a kid out walking in the woods, 100 miles from home trying to find his way. That's what I see. It's terrible.
Yeah,
the whole thing's terrible.
45-minute drive. Sorry, Jack. She says it's a 45-minute drive. And it was 1 month of phone calls were over $600.
Well, that was another thing, the phone cards, I remember listening to the calls. It was seemingly like it was, what was it, Doc, guys? $30 for, no,
it was
more
ridiculous. They were paying, I think it was like $2.50 for the first minute and $1.90 or $1.50 a minute after that. I went down that rabbit hole. That you know how the calls actually started becoming more affordable? Someone, an attorney, thankfully, had the compassion to start a class action on behalf of a prisoner. Because prisoners have rights, okay? Plain and simple. They cannot be treated like animals, and yet they are. And prisons profit off of prisoners' families. It's not the prisoner's family who committed the crime. They haven't committed a crime, yet they're the ones that have to pay in order to see their loved one. And if
it's like a dollar a minute, $1.20 a minute. It was ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. Barb said $15 a call. Hey, I want to share this real quick. I Googled, how do you get someone to confess? Okay. And I just want to read through a few of these. And let's just see if these were used in this case. Beginner techniques, use these first. The incentive approach. What I will do for you.
Yep.
The friendliness technique. The story trick. The confession method. The silence trick.
Pretty much all those.
Up and down. Yeah. I'm gonna share this in Discord because this is like this case. You see every one of these used in this case. It's disgusting. I'll put it on YouTube
it is
too.
It is disgusting.
It's like they pulled out the playbook and just went down the list.
Well, they treated Brendan. Please, Doc, go ahead.
I was going to say, just looking at all this, one has to ask the question, why was all this psychological warfare used on the Avery and Dassey family? That's what it is. It is psychological warfare.
Yeah, it is.
To split them.
$36 million.
That's 100% correct. So the mere factor that this was not tunnel vision is pure bullshit, and we know that. So that Stephen and his family and extended families, they were given the special treatment, right? and you have to ask the reason why. And to me, it all boils down to the fact that Stephen had a very damaging civil suit against the MTSO, the sheriff, and Vogel, and that would have damaged the state. There's no question about that. And, furthermore, he was the poster boy for the Innocence Project. So, in effect, they wanted to put all their eggs in one basket and make Stephen to be an isolated criminal who didn't deserve any affection or time. And therefore, they wanted to turn the tide of sympathy against Stephen. And that's exactly what the press conference was all about by Kratz.
That's right. That's exactly right. Absolutely.
Turn the tide of sympathy. So now they're using psychological warfare on Stephen's immediate family, and we can now see the fallout that has taken place. It's shocking.
I just want to add, Stephen also, when he settled that lawsuit, he was then able to get paid attorneys and not have a public defender. So the case they had built up until that time, public defenders work for the city and county government. So even though they try and be fair to their client, at the end of the day, the DA is their boss, okay? But just plain and simple, they're company men.
I'm sure Kaczynski was handpicked. I feel certain.
Yes. And I think Stephen's attorney at that would have folded like Kaczynski if pressured. And so that being said, once Buting and Strang were hired, they had to up their game. The cops did. They knew that evidence wasn't enough. That's when they really started putting pressure on Brendan, on Jodi, and just ratcheting up the intimidation and these textbook Hollywood movie interrogation tricks.
That's what I said earlier after the 15th, that we saw earlier. They were 15th interview. I'm pretty sure that Jodi said, "I don't want to talk to you no more. I'm done." They went after Brendan within a week or 10 days, whatever the hell it was. And that's when all that shit started. Of course, I've got my own theory there about the Kaler thing. I got my own thoughts. That's me. It's my opinion. No one has to agree with me, but I think that was all set up and it was pushed by Candy. But that's me. That's a subject for a different day.
I'll get you a laugh. I mean, I don't know what it is. I missed a wee part of the conversation there. But I'll get you a laugh. What happens here in the UK, right, is if an innocent man or woman is proven to be innocent and went to court and everything like that and been proven and let out, and they apply for compensation, they get charged. Our government charges them room and board.
What?
Off of their compensation. Yes, what? Jack, I am not shitting you. They will, if they have been at, take Luke for instance, right? Luke does his 20 years and something wonderful happens and it gets proven that he's innocent and he gets out, right? And then he goes for his compensation and he wins that compensation. Then half or more of that compensation will be refunded back to the fucking government.
That's wrong.
For room and board. They take room and board off of these prisoners.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
That have spent years in jail for being fucking innocent. See, when I heard that, I was like, what? Surely not. Are kidding me. But I've listened to a few more people who have been in the jail and stuff like that. I mean, I forget the names. T.C. Campbell and Joe Steele was a big one. They were innocent. It was called the Ice Cream Wars. And they got blamed for killing a family. But they were completely innocent, and they went on hunger strikes and everything like that. And they got out, and they charged them room and board. So half of their compensation bundle, or more than half of their compensation bundle, got given to them, but then got returned to the government because the government put them up for 20 fucking years.
That is absolutely insane. Wow. Well, thank God they don't do that here, but they make it so damn hard to get out. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, when I heard that, Jack, and I mean, I know our justice system is fucked up, right? But it's not as fucked up as your justice system. It's probably just as hard to get appeals and everything like that. But when I heard that about the government taking room and board off of somebody who they sent to jail, who was innocent and spent 17 or 18 years in jail, they're taking that money back off them. Now,
That's the state's fault. That's the state's fault.
How much money are we talking about?
That'd be thousands, thousands of pounds.
Yeah, it'll be thousands. I mean, they only, it's something like, for what I've gathered, I mean, I'll need to actually go back and double check that. So please, panel, and that don't hold me to like truths.
Right.
But something like a prisoner in a UK prison gets £1 a day spent on their meals. That's it.
Wow.
You know, so the meals are shite.
Mm-hmm.
Their board is shite. And I mean, prison's not supposed to be luxury. You know what I mean? But like we've said, they're human beings. So they should be treated like human beings, not animals. You know?
I agree.
Yeah. Some of the
Kelly-
food served in Florida prisons isn't safe for human consumption.
Yeah,
Kelly
That's
McCall-
bad.
Kelly McAllen
So
says in Minnesota, if your kids get in trouble and end up in detention, the parents have to pay for room and board. Yeah, I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
But that's still shocking.
So
yeah,
they try. There's counties here in Florida that do that as well, and that blows my mind because our taxpayers pay. Our taxpayer dollars pay for the public education system. Our taxpayer dollars pay to house these criminals, right? So why are it literally makes no sense, these ways that they continue to charge people. Like after school programs, the government funds them, yet parents are still charged to use them.
Yeah,
It's insane.
It's for profit, everything. Anyway.
It is. And when you profit off of humans, it's inevitably going to lead to oppressing them. I don't care how altruistic your thoughts are when you start. You cannot profit off of a human being. You just can't.
Not like that. Absolutely not.
No.
And, yeah.
No. It's the same in the DCA. It's the same for I'm just going to say this and I'm done. It's the same for the foster care system. The foster care system is a hot mess. There are 750 missing children in the state of Missouri alone.
It's a disaster. It is a disaster.
They don't know where these kids are, and they are collecting money and paying people to take care of them, and they're gone.
Yep.
And no one is talking about it.
Neverly, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to talk about the food in prison. I remember Sean Atwood talking about it. Remember how he was in Arizona in the state prison there for drug smuggling, or not drug smuggling, for drug distributing. Mm-hmm. And he said that he became a vegetarian because the meat looked green meaning
Yeah.
that it was all spoiled. There's like rats, cockroaches, all kinds of stuff, and that his food consumption became really like came to a minimum because he was so disgusted with what's going on. And he talked about it for a while in his book, but I couldn't read it because it was that disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think that
most
that's
of,
really unnecessary, and
yeah,
that's, you know,
I can't vouch for Arizona, but I can vouch for Florida. Most Florida prisons, that green meat substance is actually some kind of soy product. Most prisoners, especially the older ones, end up with intestinal blockages, impacted bowels. People will literally die because they're not getting the right nutrients. If you don't have canteen or money on your books to eat the food that you can purchase, it's I don't know how people survive because you don't even make money. You can, unless you're in the federal prison system. In the state prison system here in Florida, I think they pay you like 12 cents an hour, but then they take that back for like Disca or Alice was talking about, they charge you to stay there, but yet they're getting money for you to stay there from the government, and not just
Slavery.
federal, state and
13th
county.
Amendment. It's slavery.
Yeah, it really is.
Doc?
I was going to say, just going back on what we were discussing, Yoga for the Ageless made a very poignant comment, and he said, the system is designed to keep you in, not let you out. And this is something that we see a lot of in the cases that we study. And it certainly is very much relevant to what happened to Stephen and Brendan, because don't forget, two important points here, and I'll be quick. When Stephen eventually settled and got his 400,000 or wherever it was, remember, the Horbach family tried to grab it.
They did.
They tried to grab that money, okay? So potentially Stephen would have ended up with $0, and he would have had to have gone with a public defender. And we know how that would have turned out, right? That's point number one. And secondly, you could tell how desperate the state was to keep Stephen and Brendan in prison at all costs. And the point I'm trying to make is, look no further than what Brad Schimmel did with Brendan. Brad
That's
Schimmel
right.
was always following what was happening with Brendan. And I remember Ken Kratz shitted his pants in his first edition of his book, thinking, how the hell could Judge Duffin make comments like this? They were terrified that either Brendan or Stephen was going to get released, have access to the public, tell their story, and all hell would have broken loose.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, we've said it before.
The dam would have broke. Go ahead.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Stephen and Brendan's wrongful convictions are the tip of the iceberg of what's wrong in Wisconsin. They literally are plugging the dam, and it's as big as the Hoover. I don't even want to, I don't want to even think about how many people in Wisconsin are wrongfully convicted, because the more I look, the more questionable cases I find. Manitowoc and Calumet are not a vacuum. This was something.
They're not.
No.
Look.
And, every case we look at is questionable. I've yet to see a case that's open and shut and done correctly. It's like they don't even worry about oversight.
There is one. It's in a Farag book. Remember, Doc, where those kids from Wisconsin killed that couple in Nebraska, or where the hell was it? Yeah. Kansas.
Yeah.
And those cops there, they did their shit right.
Correct. And what is so frightening is that the detectives that questioned the two cousins still believe that they were guilty, despite the fact that the two murderers. We're talking about that case?
Yes.
With the ring?
Yeah, with the ring.
With the ring.
Despite the murderers admitting to the whole crime, and their DNA was present at the crime scene, and they admitted that it was just them two, The detectives that questioned the two cousins still, to this day, insist that they were part of the murder. And that's
Yeah.
the case in which Cofford, a senior person in a crime lab, planted the victim's blood in a vehicle because he was trying to seal the confession. Right?
That's the
That's
one he
right.
went to prison for,
The
right?
deal. He went to
He
prison
did.
for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Cofford.
Yeah. That would be a hell of an interview if he talked,
Oh yeah.
wouldn't it? That really would. That would be an
Absolutely.
excellent interview because
You
if
talking
he
about
would tell the truth,
Cofford?
yeah, if he would tell the truth, he'd answer a lot of questions about how these crime labs do it.
He won't admit to any wrongdoing because
No.
he was on that documentary, and he was baffled on how the victim's blood got inside the one of the cousins' vehicle that was nowhere near the crime scene. Because you
Yeah.
see, here's the problem, Sunshine. If you admit to one error, then every case you were on has to be thrown out. And just look at if you don't believe me, Jack 61 will back me up. Look at those two women that were involved in manipulating the drug data. 10,000 cases, 10,000 cases were reversed.
Yeah. And
How
that's
to fix a drug scandal.
system. Yeah,
Correct.
I think that's where our system's at. I almost feel like, and I don't want to say that because let me be clear, there are people who deserve to be in prison and they deserve to never walk the earth free men again or free women
Absolutely.
again. Absolutely. But I think that I would say at probably half of these cases, if one was to seriously sit down and look at how a person became first involved with law enforcement to how they ended up doing a life bid, I would say more than likely they are way over sentenced if they're guilty of the crime, and that somewhere along the way they were railroaded, wrongfully convicted, or that the justice system did not do what it was designed to do.
Well, we get off into plea bargains, and that accounts for 93% or 96% of all cases are settled by plea, whether the prosecutor has evidence or not. I don't even want to go down that road again because I'll just get mad. That is my kryptonite.
So I listened to I'm going to say this and then we'll be done, I swear. So I listened to this really interesting podcast the other day. And I'm thinking I'm going to use that topic as my topic for my podcast back when I come back to do Crime Theory Exchange. And it was on the misdemeanor system. And there's a quote, and it is, the misdemeanor system is enormous, sloppy, and fast. And how does one get justice when you are in a system that is enormous, sloppy, and fast?
That's right. You can't.
And there are a little over 3 million felonies filed each year in the United States. There are over 13 million misdemeanors. That's insane.
It is. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to me, plea bargains, I have so much problems with that. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get back.
Did Ripper say? Ripper said over 97% of all cases end in plea bargain.
Yep, that's right.
Because people don't have the money to fight it.
That's right. They don't have the resources to hire a real lawyer, and their public defender says, "Hey, we got to wrap this up. You need to plea. You need a plea bargain." I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I don't think our system was ever designed that way. Please.
Can I just make a very quick comment? And we mustn't forget this. Remember what Cherie Cohen had said back in 1985 regarding the hair evidence? She was asked how many cases she had done based on hair evidence, and she said hundreds. Now, just think about that. Think about that. If Stephen Avery was successful in his civil suit, the spotlight would have been placed fairly on the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, and they would have looked at historical crimes. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people who were put in prison based on hair evidence and also teeth mark analysis, they could have put up their hand and argued that that they were put in prison. If they were put in prison based on just hair evidence and teeth mark analysis, then they had a strong case for compensation or false imprisonment. So there was a lot riding on Stephen's civil suit. Guys, we mustn't forget that. It wasn't just about the money. The spotlight would have been on the criminal justice system in Wisconsin. They are terrified, absolutely terrified.
Great point, Dr. Silkman. And also, not just the hair and bite mark, but the sexual, the sex...
assault kits. Yep, sexual assault kits.
Sexual assault kits. They were destroyed. They vanished. So if I were in that position in prison and I wanted to fight for my case, and, here I am talking about, I would like to get that. And they say, sorry, but we had a flood and they were all destroyed. What do? How's that the prisoner's fault? It's not.
That's right. That's exactly. It's the state's responsibility to store that stuff properly and make sure it's protected.
Properly. Yes.
Yeah, well, one more thing to add, Doc. No. Just to add to your comment, and maybe you can remember, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure that Colleen worked somewhere in Louisiana Parish or somewhere in Mississippi before she moved to Manitowoc, Mississippi, Wisconsin.
Yeah, she was at different places. Correct.
Yeah, she was in Mississippi, I think, for a while. Yeah,
so that was the early 80s before she moved to Wisconsin.
I think that's where she went to school. Was in Mississippi, wasn't it?
I think so. Somewhere down there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the deep south. Yeah, I remember that for sure. Anyway, let's get back to Jodi. So, I've got one more clip to show you guys, and taking it all, and again, the ton of stuff that I haven't shown. This is just the really kind of highlights, and not even all the highlights really, because I know we don't have time for that. But this last clip, let me pull this up. I'll get it on the screen and then talk just for a second. It's going to pop. This is an October 11th, 2006 interview. Now, remember, there was the interview at the end of August with Wiegert, and I'm not sure who else. I don't think there's anyone else in there with him. I didn't hear anyone else. And then in September, Wiegert and Fassbender went looking for Jodi. Because remember, Doc, everyone, what did Wiegert want? He wanted that camera in Fassbender. They wanted that camera all of a sudden after almost a fucking year.
Yep.
And they also wanted, they wanted her to flip. And I thought maybe by this time, I guess in their mind, they thought she'd had enough. So they found her, and that was like September. It was early September. I don't know. It's in the playlist. And then they talked to her for a few minutes, and she said, I really want my lawyer present. Well, then they talked to her again about a week later. And then I think this is actually when I think the lawyer was present in this one. But I'm not going to play all of this. This is over an hour, but they really went after Jodi. I'm going to play a little bit of this. Again, this is for to me, it's straight to manipulate her and to see what she'll say at this point. And it's, it goes without saying, Jodi didn't testify at Stephen's trial. Anyway, you're in Discord. You got to unmute YouTube. We'll play a little bit of this and talk about it.
Where'd you find her or him?
Girl I work with had her. I'm getting another one.
I love little kittens. Most guys don't.
Yeah.
I'm a little different.
Till they get to be big cats.
Well, anyways, as you can see, we have a recording here. The date is October 11. We're here because we asked to talk to you and you agreed with that. We also spoke with your attorney and told you that obviously you're free to speak with your attorney, and you chose not to contact your attorney, and he chose apparently not to contact you. And you're all right with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mark has told you a whole bunch of times already that we're not here to get you in trouble. You're not in trouble. You're not under arrest. We're in your residence in Red Granite. You're free to ask us to leave, or you're free to leave. I think you the other one that ask us to leave at any time. You don't have to answer questions. And I think the same holds true with what the district attorney in Calumet County had said previously, that you're not going to be in trouble for answers you provide during this interview.
I want to pause this for a second because Kratz passed on to her attorney that she basically had immunity for anything she said. And I found that really strange. I find that really curious. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
No matter what you tell us.
I'm going to be as open and honest and remember everything I can.
Well, we appreciate that. Why don't we just open it up and just, we may ask specific questions, but we'd like, I guess I personally would like you to talk to us a little about your relationship with Stephen and the abuse that you took.
There was a lot of abuse.
Talk to us about some of that.
Well, at first it was good until I found about him sleeping with Marie, his niece. And then he was physically and mentally abusive. Beat the crap out of me all the time. Choked me all the time. So almost pretty much twice a week. Controlling. I couldn't leave the house. Couldn't talk to my mom. Couldn't talk to Michelle. Couldn't even talk to his sister or anybody unless he was around. Just, it was really, really controlling and really abusive.
Looks like you're almost getting a little emotional here. Is this hard for you to talk about?
It's hard to remember everything, but gotta get it done and over with so I can move on in my life.
Why don't you get a little chronological with us if you can, please? Tell us about when you first met him and take us through some of that if you could, please.
When I first met him, I went out to the trailer to meet Rolly. And Stephen and his sister Barbara were outside and they seen somebody new, so they come over. I left, and a couple days later I moved in. I was outside working on my car and he come over and we got together then and he never left.
When you're talking he, you're talking Stephen Avery?
Yeah, Stephen.
And Rolly is who? Rolly
Johnson.
Johnson.
The guy that owns the trailer.
The trailer that you ultimately moved into with Stephen?
Yeah.
Okay.
You told me at one time, Jodi, that you met him at a gas station, so that wasn't true.
No.
So, how did you hook up with Rolly Johnson and his trailer?
Through Michelle.
Michelle who?
Mueller, my girlfriend that knows Rolly.
Okay. And you tell us you went up there to look at this trailer because you were thinking about renting it? Where was Stephen living at that time?
I believe in his ice shanty.
Okay. And about what time, date was this? What time, what year, what month? What's this about?
June 19th. What year? I don't remember the year. This is 2004, 2003.
The year he got out, after he got out of prison, whenever that
That
was.
same year that he got out of prison, which I believe was 2003.
So then I met him in 2004.
And it was about June 19th.
Yeah.
How is it you remember that exact date?
Because that was when a couple days later, I moved in.
Okay. All right. And when you moved into the trailer, did you move in there alone?
Yeah.
How long after you moved in there did Stephen move in there with you?
About a month.
Okay. While you were living in the trailer and he was either in ice shanty or wherever he was, did you two start seeing each other in that interim?
No, not really. Not till July.
Did you ask him to move in with you?
No.
How did it happen that he got in there with you?
We went out, and he just moved in and never left.
You went out, you mean you started dating?
Yeah.
Went out, okay. And that's summer of 2003, essentially, right?
2004, yeah. Because he got out in September of 2003.
Oh, okay, so summer of 2004.
Yeah.
All right. I was thinking 2003. So summer of 2004, you're now living with each other. Okay. And you said earlier in the talk today that initially things were all right.
At first.
About how long were things all right?
Do we have that
A
song?
month, 2 months, month and a half in between there.
Okay, and was it after that month and a half, the 2 month time, is that when you found out about Marie?
Yeah.
Had he done anything abusive toward you prior to that?
No.
The first month and a half?
Mm-hmm.
So the racetrack time was after Marie?
Yeah.
When you went, okay. Tell us about finding out about Marie. How did you find out about Marie?
Oh boy. She kept calling his phone. And I asked him, well, why does she keep calling you? And we argued about that. And then he told me that he slept with her. Up north.
So you got an argument about her calling, and he ultimately admits to you that he slept with her. That he, by slept with her, did he say that, or did he say he had sex with her, or what did he say?
I believe he said he fucked her.
And I appreciate that. Whatever language he uses when we're looking for quotes and stuff, go ahead and use that language. And he said he did that up north?
Mm-hmm.
Where up north? At the property?
Earl's cabin.
What did you say in response to that, or what was your response?
I told him he's sick. Sleeping with a niece and a minor.
How old was Marie at that time? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
She was under 18?
Yeah.
What did he say in response to that?
There's nothing sick about it. She's not a blood relation. And I love her. And then after that's when he started beating me. Because I told him that he's sick for sleeping with her and having anything to do with her because she is his niece, blood or not.
He said he loved her?
Yeah. They were going to get married and everything.
So Marie was pretty much hook, line, and sinker on this? She
Yeah.
was
She used to write
part
him
of
notes
this,
all
yeah.
the time saying that she can't wait for him to buy the house and they can move in together. And she'd call him morning, noon, and night. asking him how she should wear her hair.
Really?
No.
Did he tell you of any other times that he had sex with her?
One other time at Barbara's house. Everybody was up north, and Marie and Barbara came home early. That was right after he choked me, and I called the cops on him.
Okay.
In between the racetrack incident when he choked me.
So he told you about that second time that he had sex with Marie, and it was in Barbara's house.
I don't know if it was in her house or in the ice shanty. Because I know that they were in the ice shanty, but then they went into Barbara's house and
Where was
slept
Barbara?
her. I have no idea.
This ice shanty.
Okay, that's enough. That's about 11 minutes, about edit of that interview, and it, as you can see, it goes an hour, and it gets worse. The manipulation, and to her credit, she resisted the most of everything else that they put towards her. Now, I know that there's. I can remember one incident where the cops were called. She called the cops, and they came out, and she said that he had choked her, and they didn't. They reported they didn't see anything. I'm not there, so I'm not going to say whether that happened or not. But, there's one thing for sure that you can get from the phone calls, if nothing else, with Jodi. She was combative too. She could get mad, just as mad as he did. So
When
I don't know.
I just want to say the first visit she has with him after she gets released, she goes up there and sees him, and he says to her, there's something said, and basically he says, "I've never put my hands on you," and she says, "Oh, you better not either."
That's right.
Yeah, and that right there to me was that was real talk, right? This right here just doesn't feel like that for me. I don't think he ever put a hand on her personally.
Well, that
Maybe in
again,
self-defense.
it goes back to to turning someone, manipulating, getting them so pissed off that any incident gets blown up or manipulated a little bit. So that's the final one that. Go ahead, Avery.
Somebody in the chat said that this sounds staged, and I couldn't agree more. Because we don't know what happened behind the scene. How did she get to this point? And, did they have a little conversation? And who knows what kind of deal she struck? We don't know about it. It's very possible. Remember, she has a daughter. She has all these DUIs and charges and whatnot. So all of a sudden, she comes in and she starts contradicting everything she said so far. Very suspicious.
Now, in the beginning, Fassbender said, when we talked earlier today, do we have that interview?
No. Nope. It's the only one we have for what I've just played there. It's about an hour. And it does get it gets further in, but and a whole lot more accusations. But go ahead.
Why is this audio and not video?
They didn't video. It's just it's an audio recording.
Yeah, isn't that odd?
It's at her place. They went to her, so.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know at that point she didn't have a a ride or whatever, but the one in September, the two in September, and the one in October, both or all three, they went to her, and it's audio only.
But Christina, you said that Fassbender said when we talked earlier today, he made a reference that they spoke earlier that day.
He said when we spoke earlier that day, or earlier today, when we talked earlier today. And I just find that interesting.
Me too.
Well, he's referencing talking about the lawyer, if you remember, her lawyer and Kratz, and so it sounded like there was a conversation before the audio started exactly, and we don't have it.
And I wonder what would be nice is to see what, because something, if her lawyer was present, then we're talking cases that were dropped. So did they find open charges on her, or did she get all those fines from her DUIs? Did she catch another DUI? And instead of them taking her to jail, they said, you're going to jail this time for 2 years, or you're going to tell us what we want to hear. You know, we just don't know. We
her
don't
lawyer's
Exactly, because they kept her there forever over a $2,000 charge, right? That she couldn't make. They made her life miserable over that. So all of a sudden, she's playing ball.
Yeah. I mean, jail sucks, people. It sucks. And put yourself in Jodi's shoes. When she went to jail, she was looking at getting out to a man getting ready to get millions. And while she's in jail, not only does she watch them railroad him, they destroy her stuff. And then they keep keeping her in there. And the only time she gets out of that jail cell is to what? Be questioned about Stephen, right? You're either going to sing for your supper, or the jail keys in this case, or you're going to go back to population. That's basically what they're telling her. And even if they didn't say that in so many words, Jodi's been around long enough to know that's the deal. I'm either going to have to flip, or I'm going to stay in here until I'm old and gray and no man's going to want me, because she doesn't have the wherewithal to go get a job and do it herself, right? She thinks that and I'm not judging at all.
She's working. She's working during this time. She's got a job.
Yeah, but why are
what?
Yeah, but it's contingent on what? She's on
I don't
probation.
know.
Right. So she may have had a job at this point so she could get away from all the other stuff. But the whole time she was with Stephen, she didn't work. When she could have done Huber, that didn't last very long, right?
No.
She's not, and I'm not judging, you know, it's that age set, it was, especially in rural settings, you know, you find a good man, he takes care of you. And so she thought she hit the jackpot, and then, you know, this is where she's at, man. She just wants to be done.
I'm going to play a little bit of this. I wasn't going to. I'm going to play a little bit of the September 13th, 2006 interview. I'm pretty sure this is the one where the lawyers are. Let's listen to a minute of this. Yeah, attorney's there.
On board? I am on. All right. Joy, just a few things before we start asking you any questions, okay? You are here represented by your attorney, and we understand that, okay? The reason I'm saying that is I want it on the tape, obviously. You're not the target of an investigation, okay? We're not here to get you in any trouble. You're not in any trouble with us. You're not under arrest for anything. No matter what you tell us, you're not going to be in trouble.
And while we're on the record here too, I did speak with Ken Kratz about that, and a condition that we spoke of was that in terms of what could possibly happen to you, Jodi, as a result of this, is that he was willing to grant complete immunity, whether use immunity or transactional immunity. And you and I spoke about this before we went on the tape here, but just so that you're clear, what these fellows are telling you is exactly true. Okay. Even if you say something today that would in some way incriminate you for some offense that may have occurred in the past or is occurring now, you will not be prosecuted for that.
Okay.
And in the event that that would happen, then your statement could not be used.
Okay.
They promise not to prosecute. So please, for my sake as well as theirs, make sure that you tell them everything, and everything you say needs to be true.
Okay.
It's a condition of that agreement that you must provide truthful information, not just what you think they want to hear.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions of me before we go ahead?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, if you do as we go along, you just let me know.
Okay.
And I'll just reiterate that this has got to be the truth, okay? Because I know we've talked several times before, Jodi, and I know some of the things you told me weren't exactly the truth, or a different version of the truth, if you will.
Or not everything.
And I mean, you left some things out.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for today, okay? And I'm going to kind of turn it over to Tom now. I'll probably interject here and there, but Tom's got a bunch of questions that we'd like to run by you, okay?
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's enough of that. You get the gist. But I wanted to play that part because it's got the law, her lawyers there, and this deal about immunity. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. She wasn't present. What the fuck, man?
It almost
Well,
sounds
they
like
manipulated her. Why would they even say that? Kraft said, "Oh, Kraft said you're gonna get an immunity for what? Drunk driving?
Yeah.
What are they gonna get
Yeah.
her for? She was away, documented. She was away, so they messed with her, and the dum fell for it.
Yeah,
Doc?
but she never really says anything, does she?
No.
Like,
Doc?
no, I think they wanted her to go in there and say something to the effect, he had me destroy the murder weapon. He had me burn his bloody clothes. Something that would really hang him. And to her credit,
hide the body where he hid the body. Yeah,
right. Anything.
Oh,
where he
she
burned
stood
it
up.
at.
She stood up to him. But anyway, Doc, you got something?
I was going to say, this is nothing but fear and intimidation. But this is what I think really got them worried. Can I just read one sentence from Queso? I think this sums it up. Now, this was an interview. They interviewed Jodi on the 6th of November. That's one day after they found the RAV, right? And this was by Deidring. And Jodi Stachowski, I'll read it out. She goes, Jodi continued to indicate that it was her belief that Stephen is being set up by the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department and possibly other law enforcement agencies. Boom. Boom. There you go.
Hey, right there it is.
There's the truth.
There it is. There it is. So you know that they psychologically manipulated this woman who was in a very vulnerable position, and they flipped her. So now you know what Jodi's initial thoughts were. She never said, oh, Stephen did this, Stephen did that. Remember, Jodi had accompanied Stephen to some of the deposition sessions. Her name is there. He actually heard all the shit that went down in the 1985 case. And are you now trying to tell me that Jodi now became a supporter of law enforcement? She would have been quivering in her boots.
That's
because if she saw what they did to Stephen, imagine what they could have done to her. They would have crushed and snuffed her life completely out if she didn't play ball.
That's right.
And she still didn't play what they did. She didn't play major league ball. She gave them T-ball hits, right? I mean, she tried. I think, my opinion of her has slowly changed. I think she did the best she could with what she had at that time. I don't think in her position she could have done any better than what she did.
Well,
I mean, she couldn't get him out of jail.
Keeping in mind that again, she's an alcoholic, and so that has to play a part. Never.
That's right.
I think that she did really well in the beginning up until this point. Remember Nancy Grace's interview?
Oh my God.
Yeah, but she was sitting on she ended up going to prison right after that. She was sitting on charges for that interview.
Yeah, I think Nancy, I mean, they don't typically give money, but there's a tip factor or a gratuity that comes along.
Yeah, and I think she was hopeful that she was sitting on minimum mandatory. I think Jodi has, if Barb's still here, she may know for sure. I think Jodi has like 8 DUIs.
That's what Stephen said also to, I think, Kim Serwinski. He told him like 7 or 6 or 7 at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so by that point, they finally start, like if you get 8 DUIs in Florida, you're going to prison for 10, 15 years. And for some reason in Wisconsin, you can drink and drive for like ever and get caught. And, it never becomes a felony until like your 5th or 6th one. And that's just insane to me.
We had Sammy Varatis just joined us and left. Oh, there's Sammy. You're welcome to come back if you wish.
Can I just make one final point? Because unfortunately I have to go. There's something that we have forgotten. You know that Jodi was, in actual fact, a very important alibi for Stephen on the 31st of October because she rang him twice for 15 minutes.
That's
and
right.
She said, I noted nothing nefarious. I noted nothing out of the ordinary. So at the time where where Stephen was meant to be raping, killing, mutilating, burning, cremating Teresa Halbach, he appeared calm, and they were just talking trivial stuff between 2 people. And Jodi said, hey, I would have known if something was up. And can you believe that fucker Fassbender, what he said to her? Oh, I noted that this was the only time he was nice to you. Insinuating that Stephen was hiding something from Jodi. Can you believe? So in effect, guys, now we understand why the state put in so much time into Jodi. Because if Jodi stood up for Stephen and said, hey, look, nothing nefarious went on. When the state is saying that he was doing all this raping and murdering, hey, I spoke to Stephen twice. That's 30 minutes, guys, at a crucial time events, and she noted nothing nefarious. So in effect, she was a crucial alibi witness for Stephen at a critical time.
Absolutely. Because anybody in that, would he have, I mean, I'm going to let you talk, Beverly, but do you think that at any point in time that he would have acted strange if he was doing any of that shit? I sure do.
They were talking about she wanted rose petals, remember? And romantic.
Correct.
And he was saying, yeah, romantic. Yeah. And they listened to all of that. That's how we got the calls, because it was all recorded.
Yeah.
So look, as you said, Dr. Silkman, they invested tons of resources into this, time and money.
Yes. And now it all makes sense, because they're thinking, oh my God, if we don't flip Jodi, potentially she could be a thorn in our side, because she would be Stephen's mouthpiece to the media. You get it, guys? She would be his mouthpiece. They were terrified of that.
Absolutely, and had to destroy it. So that's what they did.
That's why they kept her. Yeah, that's why they kept her in jail too. Because
fear and intimidation.
Yeah, if she'd have been out on the street if she'd have gotten out even after the 57 days, she would have been available for interview. And if his girlfriend's on TV saying, I talked to him twice, I know he didn't do this, that would have been huge. Another thing, and there's others who have said this as well, I still believe someone in Manitowoc dropped the ball at the jail. I still think those phones were supposed to be off on the 31st and someone forgot to turn them on. I don't think those phone calls were supposed to have been allowed to take place. Just my opinion. And I think someone forgot to turn the phones off to her jail cell. Her pod, I should call it. I
don't know, maybe. I don't know. But, we do have those calls, and it's obvious to me that it's just a normal, couple just hamming it up a little bit. And, Yeah, I have to agree. But, you know, looking at this overall, you know, the presentation of all of this to me, I've been thinking about it. I mean, especially since I've been recording these calls and listening to and knowing what I've read and everything else, this manipulation, they put a shit ton of time into this, guys. Think about it. I mean, 5 interviews. Let's see. Let me just look here while we're just chit-chatting. So we got, they went after her on the 5th of November, 2005. And then we have the call, or the interview on, I'm sorry, calls, the interview on February 15th. And that's not, you know, this is 3 months apart. Let's see, November, December, January, 3 months apart. And then, but I think there was some other actual contact in there that's documented. It wasn't recorded. And then, of course, more phone calls and business, but with Jodi, we don't know what potential actual contact that she could have had. You know, she had to go get her purse. This is one of the calls that I just played because Chuck had to take her down to the jail to get her purse because they collected this evidence. No, they wouldn't give it to anyone else. So she rode with Chuck, which is another big point of contention. You know, Steve's thinking, well, you're screwing Chuck because you're hanging around. Well, no, she needed to fucking ride down to the jail or wherever to get her stuff. So that was another point of contention and another potential contact. The August 31st interview, again, here we are a few months later. And then 2 contacts in September and another one in October. I mean, my God, man. And none of it was in support of Stephen. It was to flip her against Stephen. All this time. And she wouldn't really do it. When you come right down to it, that last interview in October, she wouldn't do it. She refuted pretty much everything. Doc, you've heard this, and Everly, I think you've heard this interview too, or probably all of you, that was talking about her being, you know, when they were, you know, having their little fun and Stephen tying her up with a rope. And, you know, I think that made the radar go up. And she said, oh, I could just slip my hands right out of that. She wasn't like tied down.
No.
Right.
No. And what we have to do, probably at another open mic, is now go back to Queso, because now it all starts to make a lot of sense. They re-interviewed her on the 8th of November. Deidre did. And it's remarkable. It's remarkable what she said in that interview, and we should definitely absolutely read it out. And one of the points that she made was that she was actually aware that Stephen had, I'll quote, sexually explicit photos of his ex-wife, but indicated that these photos do not bother Jodi. Wow.
Whoa. I forgot about that.
Yep, correct. So now we should go back and have a look at all those early interviews, because I'll tell you right now, those 2 phone calls between Stephen and Jodi on the 31st absolutely spooked the state. Absolutely spooked law enforcement.
We should plan for that next Sunday, maybe, Doc, playing those 2 calls and then reading out these documents you're talking about in the Queso. Let's do that.
It now makes perfect sense.
They put so much effort into this. Go ahead.
Also, when she said that they were having fun times 5 to 7 times a day, remember that?
Yep.
You would think, oh, yeah, he's a perv, blah, blah, sexual maniac. Where in fact, she said it herself. No, I wanted it too. So it was a fair game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think about, you know, all this, and then the state, you know, there had to be some, a lot of conversation, certainly with Kratz, I'm sure, about trying to get her flipped all the way to call her as a witness. You know, he would have loved to put her on the stand. And here we are in October, just a few months before trial. Actually, trial was actually supposed to have happened in October, but of course it got delayed. But he would have loved to have gotten her on the stand and had her flipped. I'm sure of it. Now that I've heard all this other shit, and I'm still not completely done with all the jail visits yet. So,
And since they couldn't flip her, and since she couldn't be their star witness, enter Bobby Dassey.
Yep. Unfortunately true. And that's another whole can of worms that we don't have access to all this, whatever was said to him, when he went to interview with Kratz. So, and that's unfortunate, because I would sure like to know what was said. I like to have been a fly on the wall, what they said to him. So anyway, all right, we've been going at it for 3.25 hours. So why don't we wrap it here? And over the next several days, I'll pull the interviews out that she did with Queso. I'll get those other 2 calls. We'll go through that, and hopefully we can put a bow completely around it and just see everything that was said and how far they went to try to manipulate her and flip her. It's just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. She wasn't there. So why are they doing this shit? It's crazy.
Correct. So what you can clearly see, Jack 61, is that law enforcement put an incredible amount of time on all of Stephen's potential alibi witnesses. And, I hate to say it, they gave Bobby Dassey a free pass.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Should we say immunity? Since they offered it to Jodi, it's pretty much immunity.
Yep.
Well, they could have done that, and we just don't know about it.
Exactly, because they would never record that.
No, and as far as I know, it might be in Wiegert's report. I can't remember. I'd have to read that DCI report again on the September 15th interview, because there's a DCI report attached to that one. I'll have to look at it, but regardless, another whole can of worms.
What I meant when I said, and they would never record it, okay, they would record the fact, okay, Bobby, you're here because Kratz gave you full immunity. Is that correct? Correct. So you're going to answer this to the best of your knowledge and truth, nothing but the truth. So help you God, right? But they wouldn't record anything how it got there.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. All righty. Does anyone have anything else they want to add to our Jodi discussion?
I was just going to quickly say, Jack 61, this has been incredible, because now we can see the strategy that law enforcement used on Stephen's alibi witnesses, and they started from within and worked their way out.
They sure did, Doc. Absolutely agree with that. Alice, anything from the chat that we've missed? I've been trying to glance at it, but I haven't seen any real questions.
No, just a lot of jokes going on about Jodi, and about how Yoga for the Ageless says, how about Bobby? We want to talk to you about these searches. Well.
And Case 10 says, what were he and Kratz talking about in the hallway? Oh, wouldn't we love to know that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'd first like to thank all the panel and folks that have come into the Discord to chat and share their thoughts. And then, of course, everyone there and out in the live chat, really appreciate it. Keeping their interest in the case and this aspect of it, for looking at really putting a spotlight on Jodi and how they went after her. Really went after her. I don't think there's really anyone else other than Brendan that they went after. But poor, Brendan, he just didn't have the tools to protect himself like she did. She's far more street smart. He's just a kid, just a scared kid, and they were able to manipulate him very quickly. not quite so easy for her. So it's kind of a sad situation, really, because I do think that Stephen did really care about her. Got very jealous and never really spelled it out really quickly. He had a lot of time. His mind could wander, go all kinds of places because he didn't have a job. He's just sitting there in his cell. So anyway, really appreciate everyone coming. If you like what we do, give us a like, a subscribe, share the video, go to the library. It's all there for everyone to go and do their own research. The website, Zoe and yours do a hell of a job. Spooky helped create that as well. But Zoe and yours are, they're constantly adding things. I know they're still working hard on trying the best way to upload the photographs. It's really become I think it's Zoe's kryptonite. It's been a real pain in the ass. Go visit and give support to our other people in the community. Jeff Jones, he's doing an excellent job. Doc and I on his panel with Cal and Big Jeff. And we do the Discussing a Murderer, talking about all the episodes in Making a Murderer. Rhonda, she's doing a great job with the Holtzclaw case, her and Kay and Cherie. Mystic Jinx, Becca. There's so many in the community that are they're doing their part to keep the cases alive. We're going to continue to do so as long as we can. And with that said, this has been a Foul Play production.